It's honestly, I'm not even
Hold on,
thinking.
Jimmy. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Finance Roll Show. Tonight, we're going to talk about something fun and interesting. We're going to talk about, can Airbnb survive all these political attacks? They're getting attacked in New York, Philadelphia, various places down south. But guess what? The stock's still up. So tonight, we're going to talk about that and a couple other things. And I got my brother Jimmy Williams from By the Hood coming on with us as well. So I might as well bring him on now.
What's
How
up,
are you, sir?
family? What's up, brother? How you?
Good, man. Good, man. I'm feeling a little out of sorts here.
What's wrong, man? Everything good?
I did this. You see, I'm clicking off the wrong
You
screens. Get
you
them
had
all.
you had your noni juice today? Like you good?
No, I haven't had my noni juice today. You know, that could go a whole different way. But yeah, everybody, we're going to talk about Airbnb. We're going to talk about a little bit about hip hop news. So I
Yeah.
want to bring this one on in a minute. I know I'm gonna get a reaction out of Jimmy from the rip.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Must be gotta be Jay-Z.
How did you know? How did you know?
Listen, man, he should hire you as one of his counselors, man. You always defend you.
I don't defend him. I just be fair. I just be fair.
If you say so, I mean, you lead counsel.
No. Listen, I call it how I see it.
Except for him.
No, I don't think that's fair. That's not fair.
He
But
must have made a song or album that's really like, touched you in a certain way. Pause. Because that's your guy.
you love Jay.
No, I think he's one of the greatest. He
There
does.
you go.
But I mean,
There you go.
there's nobody breathing that I agree with 100% of the time.
Me either.
I think
Me
everybody's
either.
listen, and that includes myself. I disagree with a lot of the decisions I've made in my life. Right, so I don't agree with anybody 100% of the time, including myself. So I just feel like sometimes people can be critiqued. Doesn't mean that they're not great. Doesn't mean that you don't have admiration and believe they can do great things. But
Okay.
nobody is beyond critique.
I believe it. I agree with that. Nobody is above reproach. So,
Right.
all right. So let's get to this first one first. The Intimate All-Star Black Jacket Party will have a $1 million pot and expected A-list guests, including Beyonce, Kim Kardashian, Tom Brady, Travis Scott, and more. Kevin Hart will MC the Intimate Casino Royale event that's being limited to 300 guests. Players will pony up $100,000 of buy-in to pay in the blackjack games, while non-players will pay $50,000. We hear the bash on September 30th at the Ocean Casino Resort will be donating the jackpot and being hosted with the Reform Alliance board, which includes Robert Kraft, Meek Mill, and Michael Rubin. All right, so this is Jay-Z's plans on hosting a $1 million blackjack party with the James Bond theme for the Reform Alliance. So he's raising money for prisons. Now, Jimmy, are you going to say he's working with the Illuminati to do this?
Hey, listen, man, eyes wide shut. I have no complaints.
No complaints.
No, here's what I'll say. I don't know how that like really trickles down to the people. I get it. I mean, charity. I don't tell nobody to do with their time or their money, man. God bless them. Like, have fun. I from a political standpoint, I think there's other things that can be done, but he once said, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment, so I guess, he's living his raps. God bless him. This is dope.
So what I will say is he has put his money up. I believe it's his money to fight for prison reform.
Yeah.
I know with Meek, I know they sued the prison in Mississippi or Alabama. I forget what state it was in. Well, somewhere down south. I think that's something that we haven't really done before. And I think that's great.
So the Reform Alliance has done good work. I'm not saying anything negative or positive about it. I was just saying in terms of like $1 million balls, all right, so put it this way, right? If you had access to resources like that, would that be the first thing that you want to do is put together $1 million ball? Or are there other things that you would tackle, right? As I look at what's going on with our people, there's so many other things that I would have done. But again, I can't tell anybody how to spend their money. I'm not judging them at all. Like they could do it the way they feel they have to do it. I'm not questioning anybody. I do what I feel is right, and other people do what they feel is right. It is what it is.
I mean, one thing that I think we learned from civil rights that civil rights still gets a heavy critique on is that it's going to take some of our white brothers and sisters, if that's even a thing, to be allies in some of these things. So they go some of they grab some of their cash and use it. I think that's strategic, and I think it's smart.
I mean, yeah, but like for me, I'm always thinking about
The backlash.
well, no, the politics of everything. Like, I mean, I get it, right? So I guess one of the things about maturing and growing, and it's funny, I was just having this conversation with Corey, is that you realize that a lot of life is in the gray area. A lot of life is nuanced.
Yes, it is.
There
I argue,
well,
not argue, but I preach that to my son all the time. I said, you know, you think life is black and white, and it's not. I would say gray. I actually don't like saying gray.
Okay.
I'm a combat jack baby, right? So I say the life is full of technicolor.
That's right. Rest in power. Rest in power.
Yes, absolutely. But you know, there's so many ways to do a thing. And I mean, even you, for those of y'all who are watching, this show came up because again, me and Jimmy be talking about stuff.
Yeah.
Like, all right, you know what? We should talk about this on air.
Mm-hmm.
And so we kind of talked about this and a couple other things that we want to talk about. We definitely talked about AirBNB. But one thing you said yesterday that I agree with is that there are many different ways to do a thing. Yes. There's not just one way. Mm-hmm. There's not just one way to help our people. There's not just one way to get rich or wealthy, whatever term you want to use. There's not just one way to go about life.
But I also feel like we have to tackle some of the issues we deal with as a people in multiple ways. And one of the things that I've been working on personally is like, you know, sometimes you have a belief about how things should go, even with what I'm saying regarding this topic. And you have to be able to hit things from different angles. And the fact of the matter is, as long as the people are fighting for our people overall, I'm okay with it, right? I don't have to agree with it, but, you know, I don't have to disrespect it. I can say, look, you got to do your thing. There are people fighting on all fronts for our folks every day. We work in a space of like personal finance and things like that, but there are people working on the political front. There are people working on the mental health front, right? It is not that one way is better than the other, but you have to allow people to do their work the way they see fit, as long as I feel like they're for the people. Now, if I feel like you're an agent or you're not for the people, that's different.
But, you know, that's a dangerous thing too, though, right? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people will think somebody is an agent.
Yeah.
Quick story. I got a call today from a client of mine. Mm-hmm. He just got a corporate job making multiple six figures. Mm-hmm. He was traveling somewhere and met another black couple, black brother he met does a similar thing as him, but works for, let's say, he probably makes 7 figures or more. Mm-hmm. He wants to put my client on. And he's like, listen, every time I'm up to do something, it's always these mayonnaise people who are getting promotions or benefiting from nepotism. Mm-hmm. I want to benefit my folks. And it's an older gentleman. And it's like, you know, I haven't really done a whole lot, but I want, every time I do something, I wanted to make a meaning. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I want to bring you on. I can't say too much more.
No, I got you.
Confidential,
listen, but I'm all about black nepotism.
Right, but I'm just saying,
I gotta make that T-shirt, man. I'm all about black nepotism, man.
I might make it before you, because that is dope. Listen, I'll share all proceeds with you.
Listen, let's give all the proceeds to the Reform Alliance.
We'll give it to the camp.
All proceeds go to the Reform Alliance. But listen,
all proceeds will go to Bottom Hood Camp.
Absolutely.
How about that?
Yeah, shout out to.
But now, like, so many people will put people down for working for the man. And then it's like, we need people in all these spaces.
Absolutely, so you do. Yeah,
they got to get it however they can live it, and
maybe I should use the term agent because that's kind of strong online. I know people like everybody's an agent. That's not what I meant by that. What I meant by that is certain people are for themselves, and certain people are for us as a collective. So even if you have a different approach that I have, if I still feel like you're for the collective, I'm okay with you doing something, even if I don't agree with it. But if I feel like you're being selfish, and, you know, because I've had an experience talking with folks in different spaces where I honestly believe they don't care about the people. They actually want to become the oppressor themselves. I really believe some people, that's how they operate. And some people are so brazen, they'll tell you that. Like, you know, honestly, like they really are about that life. So
And I think there's so many of us that's been brainwashed, they don't know anything else. But real quick, I want to say what's up to my man Lawrence.
What's up, Lawrence?
Welcome, Lawrence. So welcome says, what's up? There are multiple ways, but you still need to put your underwear on before your pants. Nuance and logical order. I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Then he also says, why is everyone that has different viewpoint agent or op? So that's a nuanced thing, right? Because there are some who are truly ops. And
I hate that term, dude. We got to kill the term op.
I know, but it is what it is. Listen, I'll kill op if you kill pause.
All right, we can keep op. Because I'm not even doing it. I don't even do it consciously at this point, bro. Like, I don't think you understand. I being like real.
Nah, man. Man. Get that.
Listen, to the point where like I speak to like crowds and I'll pause myself in front of like, a whole room. It's not even consciously, bro. Like, I don't know. I'm trying, bro. Listen,
it's like the N-word. You've been brainwashed.
God is working on me, man. That's all. I'm a work in progress.
All right, but I will say though, Lawrence, I agree with your overall sentiment of that. There isn't a whole lot of room a lot of times for nuanced conversations, different points of view. God forbid you run out 20 years ago, not today, 20 years ago and tell somebody you're a Black Republican. You might have got skinned alive, right? But now, in my opinion, it doesn't really make sense to be Republican because they hate Black people. And you can see that by the sentencing. All the Black folks who was at January 6th are getting locked up. Oh boy, the leader of the Proud Boys got 22 years? I was going to talk about that today, but I didn't have time.
So even to me, even that is a nuanced conversation, right?
It is.
Because a lot of them folks ain't Republicans, right? And somehow, and I know you're not saying this, but somehow when you're critical of Democrats, people automatically make you a Republican. And that doesn't have to be the case because I don't believe in either one of the parties. Like,
So if all you got to do is do a little bit of research, type Kamari in politics, and you'll see what I say. I say the same thing Jimmy just said. Democrats are trash. Republicans are trash. I just think right now, at this point, as I'm a student of Malcolm X, I believe Malcolm would be critical enough to say the Republicans are super trash right now.
But I think Malcolm will be super critical of Democrats as well.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I'm just careful with that because
no. I agree. Listen, the doctrine from Ballot of the Bullet is that we don't vote Democrat or Republican. We vote our interest.
Yeah.
And so you can really say our interest, and that's what I base my anti-Republican leanings current day.
I guess for me, I'm just anti everybody. Like, they all trash.
All right. Now, fair warning, y'all. Jimmy has me on the clock. He says every time we do these, we be like 3 hours.
I don't have you on the clock, bro. I was just telling you. Sometimes we get on here and we be like, I think last time we was damn near 4 hours.
I gotta go back and look.
My accountant told me to hurry up and get my tax papers together, so I gotta work on that. That's all I was saying.
Yo, man, your accountant sounds like a smart man. The deadline is coming up, man. So
I got a warning, man. He told me to stop playing, so I got to stop playing. That's all.
All right, so everybody else, I'm sure y'all heard, Puffy is giving back the royalties to his former bad boy artist.
I thought it was Love or Papa Diddy Pop or something. You
went
all the way back to
Sean
Puffy.
Combs.
You went
Love,
back
Diddy, Sean Combs, whatever. Take that. Do I got to say pause after that too?
Hey, yo. All right, go ahead. My fault.
All right, so everybody's like, this is a great thing. So Mark Curry, former bad boy artist, rapper, many of y'all may not know him because he didn't have a super duper illustrious career. However, he was there. He's on some hits, and he's got something to say. So I want to play that now.
All right. We're going to give everybody time to get in here. We're going to talk about this Puff Daddy giving the publishing back to the artists. See what we get going on right here. He gave the publishing back, huh? What y'all think about that? Wolfgang, what's going on? We here to talk about Puff Daddy giving the publishing back.
Now, anytime somebody says, after something, it ain't going to be good.
Hard Comedy, what's going on? Versatile, what's going on? Nublis, the Philly girl. What's going on?
Right, we don't need
this
to
publishing thing back. So come on, let's get to it. Yeah, I was waiting on you to speak. Yeah, it's time to speak. What up? What up? What up? What up? The real.
All right.
Worth 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and what's it worth now? What did he give you back? Years ago, 20 years ago, and what's it worth? Publishing back. Come on, let's talk. Puff Daddy gave the publishing back. Whoop-de-doo. What's it worth? What was it worth 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and what's it worth now? What did he give you back? I'm telling you, he gave me mine back a long time ago. I was the first person he called. He said, Mark, I want you to be the first person that know this. I'm giving all my artists back their publishing, which is equivalent to giving back your girlfriend after he done poked her in the booty and raped her and did everything that he got all of the worth out. It's like a spider went in and sucked all the...
I mean, clearly you know this man's an artist, right? Because he just painted a very, very vivid picture. Like, wow.
The insides out of it and then give it back? That's disrespectful. I told her, why don't you just keep it and pay me? I don't want the publishing. I want the money.
Now, I think that might be a solid point, right? Puff's a quote-unquote billionaire.
Come on, y'all think he doing a good thing because he give back some publishing? Come on, man. It's not worth anything. And then he don't have the Ciroc or the DeLeon, and then he gonna give $1 million to Jackson State like he doing some humanitarian type thing. He just trying to do whatever he can to keep his name relevant so he can go for a new deal because he don't really have nothing that's making him no money right now. He's not even a billionaire no more. So let's talk.
So I don't know his numbers. I don't pocket watch, but I will say this. I'm a Puffy fan, but being objective, right? You have to admit that Puffy does know how to keep himself relevant.
I mean,
right,
someone said that's a skill.
Right, wrong, or indifferent. Right, good, bad, or ugly. The Kardashians have made their whole lifestyle from being relevant.
Yeah,
I don't know what skill they have. They definitely don't have a song.
I mean, I saw the tape. Never mind. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Somebody's a Ray J fan here.
Ray J is a legend, yo. No Ray J slander.
Let's talk. What y'all want to do? Y'all want to talk about it? Or y'all just want to read about it and let it seem like everybody like, oh, Puffy gives all his artists back their money. I mean, they publish it. So what? The shit ain't even worth like $400 a year.
Now, I've talked to many people who get publishing checks, and they all say they worth like pennies. Unless you have some kind of monster, major breakout.
I get residuals from my books, right? And what I'll say is, it's funny because when I did the first book, I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. I'm still selling books after a couple years. It's next to nothing, right? So then you do another one. That is a catalog game, right? And I had someone like in the author space who told me like, yeah, you gotta really get out here. That's why you see like Stephen King and John Grisham, they have catalogs. Right. And they have
actually there's a whole strategy with that because one book sometimes will lead to the next.
Yeah, but even beyond that, like all of them aren't hits though, right? So there's a ton of Stephen King books we've never heard of. But the fact is when you keep putting out content like that and you build a catalog, that stuff starts to add up over time. And then you catch one or two and everything else does well. Because what I learned is I only have 2 books, but when I dropped the second book, the first book sales went up a little bit. So I'm like, okay, so I could imagine if you were in that space and, say music and, you got 15 albums right now. Curry, I don't know how many albums he had, if any. I know a couple songs he was on, but
he doesn't have the catalog. He doesn't have the portfolio.
That's what I'm saying. So that's a little different than everybody else. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, at this point, everything is a rollout. I always tell you that. I don't trust none of this. I don't trust none of it. I mean, but at the end of the what does this even matter other than the fact that we're talking about it? Other than the fact that we're talking about it.
It's relevant in the community. I'm working on
it. It is, right? So, I mean, I don't know what that man's intentions were. What I did see is that now I'm on the lookout for, all right, what's coming next? You got a TV show, you got an album, you got something coming.
Well, don't forget, he's got, I think it's the Motown deal for the R&B thing, R&B label.
Okay.
I think. And he's been in court, and I've covered that on the show with DeLeon, but not DeLeon, Diageo. he owns allegedly DeLeon. And he also talked about some of the challenges Puffy's had with Diageo at InvestFest.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I'm going to do an InvestFest review. I might not do it. I don't know.
You want to review the whole event or just, you know?
No, just you know what? I'll talk about it now because I don't really feel like it deserves a review. Right? Okay. Because there's been a lot of people who talked about this, said it wasn't worth anything. I do know one sister who gave it a good review, said it wasn't the most organized. Right? Mm-hmm. Here's my thing. Some people are going to these events expecting Steve Harvey and Robert Smith and Ja Rule to cut them $1 million check, and that's not how any of this works. Right? Like, what are your expectations? The most you should expect to get out of an InvestFest is greater networking.
Yeah.
Right? Greater networking opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what anybody can expect to come out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, the rest you're counting on is luck. I mean, that's all I really had to say about it.
So I go to a lot of conferences, festivals, things like that. And in fact, when InvestFest was going on, I was speaking myself at a conference in Utah.
I know he was hanging out with billionaires, y'all.
Stop it! But the value in that was the network, and I was even telling you about some of the folks I met, talked to. The value in that.
Hanging out with billionaires, y'all.
All right, stop it. Bro. I'm still good. I'm good. But like talking, so that's always the value there. I don't have any problem with those brothers. Again, like they got their way of doing things, but I think it's entertainment. Right. Like when you look at the people that were there, and I think some people had a problem because of the name. Right, it's called InvestFest. I'm like, but still, you got Ja Rule, you got like it's more, if not just as many artists as it is business folks on the bill. So what are you expecting? It's an entertainment festival, but I think I still think it's amazing. You get that many folks in a room. Like something
20,000.
Something has to be said for that, man. And then when you see where those brothers grew from, and they have been on my podcast. Like I interviewed them on the By the Hood podcast a couple years ago at this point as they were building. And it's interesting to see, like when I had them on the podcast, like they were just in a room with an iPhone. So, but at the same time, I get the critique, and I get the critique of some of their guests. Like I told you earlier, everybody can be critiqued, including myself. In fact, I love it to critique me, man. That's how you learn.
That's how you get better. I just learned. That's how you get better. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's part of the process. Learn and get better. Yeah, but but hey, man, shout out to them.
Yeah, I mean, I hear a lot of the same critiques. People are like, well, why is Ja Rule there? And some people are saying, well, why do we have to have a black investment conference?
Y'all be catching all kinds of slander, because everybody I've seen critique it, they always use him as the example.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, he be getting done dirty, yo.
He does. And it's funny, I did watch the Ja Rule.
I blame Dave Chappelle for that.
Well, I mean, you gotta blame 50, right?
But Dave Chappelle, I don't, who gives a fuck what Ja Rule thinks, like, because think about, there were several other artists there, and even like in other spaces, like even with the whole what's the other festival he was a part of?
Firefest. That's supposed to be coming back to, by the way.
So he's like the face of this, and people just joke on Ja Rule, man. Ja Rule just be catching strays, man. Like
but you know what I was saying? I watched the Ja Rule. I'm a big Math Alpha fan. My expert opinion. Shout out to them.
Shout to Matt. That's my guy.
I think what he laid out, I kind of agree with him, the way Ja Rule sees it and the way 50 does it, right? Because he says, 50 is a consummate troll. And then you see, oh man, I wish I had this clip ready. You see the clip with Terrence J. No, was it Terrence? It was somebody from Power and was saying, all right, we're going to go after Empire. And sure enough, he did.
Yeah, I mean,
he knows how to keep himself relevant, right?
That kind of goes to the conversation we're having now, right?
Right.
Shout out to Math, though, right? Because Math is like, that's my guy, right? Me and Math have chopped it up on a number of occasions. And the one thing about Math is an intelligent brother.
He's very intelligent. You can tell that.
But to the point where I think he even holds back on his show.
Yeah, I think you have to, though.
Because, like, every time I've talked to the brother, like, he's well-read. He knows a lot of things, and I'm like, sometimes I watch his show waiting for it, and I think he holds back a little bit, but he's a very intelligent brother. And I love his show. But the thing about Ja Rule's perspective is just perspective, right? I know you hate because I always reference TV shows, but I remember watching Scandal one time, and it's a character.
Listen, I love Scandal.
Right. So the character on Scandal,
Papa Pope,
yeah, but the character
Roland.
he's talking about, the one line that always stuck with me was by Cyrus B. Right.
Mhm.
And he was talking to Olivia, and he said, you know, in life, everybody's right, everybody's wrong. It's just a matter of perspective.
That's a fact.
So you can have this situation. I guarantee you, 50 sees it one way, Josh sees it another way.
Oh yeah.
And it's just a matter of perspective. But so when you hear him tell his story, it does sound legit. But if you ever hear 50 tell a story, that also sounds legit. It's a
But I've heard 50 tell it too, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think it's clear now. 50 did kind of take John's style a little bit, right? He started singing. I mean, you know,
he always had melody, even on a you know.
But he did a little bit, but he went full melody. You have to. But point being is that everybody knows how to kind of rally up the crowd and do things, and you got to be careful about who you get roped into, because if you do that, if you get roped in, you lose objectivity. Yeah, and that's one thing I think as a community we really have to work on. Yeah, we really have to work on. So,
but I just find it funny how, like, when people are critiquing the festival, the first thing they say is, "What am I supposed to learn from Ja Rule?" I've seen a number of stuff online, and I'm like, "Why is Ja Rule catching all the strays?" There are a number of artists.
Because Ja Rule always catches the strays.
I guess it's low hanging fruit.
In fact, Lawrence just said that Ja Rule catches strays. Yes, he does.
Yeah, like he's like low hanging fruit. They just kept coming at Ja Rule. Peace, brother. Shout out to my brother. Man. The Bronx is in the building.
The Bronx is in the building. All right, Buffy is an agent though.
Hold on, and wasn't Lawrence the guy that just asked why we call everybody agent?
Yes, community for years, and he helped the artists. You know, I don't know. Hey, Rain, welcome.
You know, the funniest thing about like the idea of like Puffy and what he did with his artists is like if you ever listen to Styles P talk now, he was on Torre's show. And he was talking about like looking at that situation through his adult eyes now. And what he was saying is in looking back, the contract that Puffy was giving everybody was the standard contract.
Right.
So everybody had it. It's just that they were looking at it like, damn, you my brother, you supposed to like do me a certain way, but he was just doing what everybody and what he learned to do. People that taught him the game told him to use this contract, right? You know. Right. And you know,
and again, it just goes to show you need a good lawyer at all times, no matter if it's a brother or not.
Yeah, the record business is insane because out of all the different industries in the world, right, whether we're talking about manufacturing, retail, real estate, finance, whatever it may be, I've never heard one thing positive about the music business. Everything I hear is negativity. All artists have been. I watch music documentaries. Artists have been getting robbed since the beginning of time up until today.
Absolutely.
People steal each other's masters, publishing.
That's a fact.
I'm like, I don't know if I've heard, like any other industry has been represented, at least in pop culture, as being as evil and nasty as the music business.
Law.
Maybe you got something else.
Law. Politics,
right?
Yeah. And law. Everybody thinks a lawyer is a snake oil salesman. So
that's true.
But I mean, but a lot of times again, and you know what? Let me go back to the investments because I do want to say this thing and it'll tie into everything. A lot of people call EYL the platform for scammers, right? Because they have had some people in there who've had sketchy platforms, beginnings, offerings, whatever you want to call it, right? But here's my thing and what I'm really getting tired of. I hate a scammer. I do.
Yeah, I do too.
But at some point, folks have to take accountability. If people have more education, financial education, personal finance education, investment education, there will be way less scamming. Part of the problem is people want to run and jump. They want to skip steps. They want to get to the bag before everybody else. And that's when they get taken advantage of. Because a lot of times, most of these scamming situations would never happen. And people took a moment and said, you know what? Let me go read a book about this.
So
let me do a consult. Let me book an accountant or a lawyer or somebody that's a professional. And a lot of this scamming wouldn't happen. So
again, nuanced conversation, right?
It's nuanced.
I don't look at them or critique them the way that others do. Have they had folks in there that says stuff that's like questionable? Yes. But honestly, I have too, which is why we stopped having guests the way we did. Because once I realized that you can vet somebody as much as you want, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, like I've seen folks on CNN and CNBC, but I guess some people's critique is when it happens, they don't come out and address it.
Right.
That's a fair critique. But the fact of the matter is, if your platform is built on interviewing guests, like you can't really be held accountable for all the mess that your guests do because you just can't. People are going to people at the end of the day. But to your point, you're getting to a deeper issue, right?
Yeah, I want to get to the heart of it.
Here is why do people fall for all the various scams that are out there?
And so many of them, and so many people that corral around these mentality. Folks.
Right, because the thing about it is building wealth is easy. I know that sounds insane, but it really is easy. But it takes discipline. And people like discipline, right? It's I was telling you yesterday, I was like, yo, I've been trying to lose weight for years, right? The bottom line of losing weight is eat less and move more. It's very simple, but I have to work on my discipline, right? That's what I'm constantly working on as I go through my journey. And the same thing can be applied to money, but people are looking for the play. They want to do everything quick. I saw a post yesterday. It's nothing to do with them. It was another dude who was telling people how to remove stuff from their credit, and everything he was talking about was straight lie, like straight fraud. You go to this government website, say this, which wasn't true. I've seen so much stuff in the last week about people lying on mortgage applications,
credit card
applications, and a lot of it is people trying to take shortcuts because no one wants to focus on their discipline and do what it takes to build wealth. I don't want to say the right way because there is no one right way. There's a number of ways, but people are looking for the play.
You can say the right way, the legal way.
Legally, right? Yeah, legally. But also because people, man, you about to make me go off, Kamari. But anyway, because people are looking at the end result and not really focusing on the journey to get to said end result. Mm-hmm. And I think that's problematic because at the end of the day, all of this is based on consumerism. Most people, when you ask them why they want to have money or how want to have wealth in the first place, I want you to start doing that. When you bring people, ask them why they want money, and that'll really shock you.
Oh, I already do that, right? So, I mean, we're relatively the same age. We've been out moving relatively around the same time. Mm-hmm. We know a lot of the same people, so we're having the same type of interactions.
Yeah,
and everybody just wants to be rich just because they want to be rich. They all want to be billionaires.
But the thing about it is, right? So I've made it a habit to start asking people their why, and I've come to the conclusion that most people would rather look wealthy than to be wealthy.
I agree.
And so when you really get down to it, this is really a psychological thing. The reason that scammers are able to exist and operate the way they do is not just their greed, but the greed of the people that are following them.
Is it greed? Because I battle myself on this. I don't know if it's greed. A part of it, I believe, is self-esteem. I think a lot of times
that's part of it. That's part of it.
Wanting the materialism, the consumerism, whatever way you want to go with it. They're trying to plug a hole in something where they feel like they're inadequate. And a lot of times they won't go invest in goddamn therapy.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people, in my opinion, in the black community.
See, Kamari, that damn fly I told you about. See, if y'all see me swinging, I came in the crib and the fly came with me, and now he is attacking me, and I want to rumble this fly. But you know what, Kamari, though? I'm gonna tell you something.
Well, hold on, let me say this last part. I feel people need to work on literacy, like real literacy.
Yeah.
Reading, writing, arithmetic.
I saw your post about that.
Yeah, well, you've been saying my dad has said this, and I kind of rejected it for years, and he denies it now. But my father used to always say that most people are functional illiterates. And I'm like, as I look at it now, and I'm looking at people and the lack of comprehension. I mean, you see it all the time, these debates online.
Yeah.
There's one thing that we could have two vantage points. There's another thing to be totally off base and talking about something totally off when you read those same sets of facts that we all have read.
Well, I have not a difference of opinion because I think that's part of it. But I think also most of us are caught up in emotion. And when you're caught up in emotion, you don't even try to think things through logically. Even if you know how to, people react off everything emotionally. One of this this is kind of like, out of left field, but one of the things that helped me in my journey in terms of like, building a portfolio, eliminating debt, and trying to get, making my financial house what it is, had nothing to do with, I've taken listen, I've went to all kinds of schools, got all the degrees, I've taken courses, I've done everything. But the one thing that helped me, which was kind of like not really finance, was studying minimalism, right? Reading books about Stoics. It's like so those kind of things because
So, are you a fan of the Daily Stoic?
absolutely.
I didn't know that. I'm a fan of it. I didn't know that.
Okay. Listen,
Yeah,
so I read all the books on the Stoics because that philosophy, and even when I was telling you a couple days ago, I was like, one of the things I like about this personal finance space are the Black people that practice fire, because they don't get into all the scamming and all that. They're focused on just one thing. But studying minimalism, because when you really start to study minimalism, it's about what adds value to your life.
Right.
And when you cut out things that don't add value to your life, you start to look at everything different. Your vantage point changes. It's the same thing with Stoicism, right? You start to take in people's energy, information a whole different way. But that goes to your point about working on yourself versus all these other things we're looking for in terms of lottery tickets and the fast play. Like, what's the play? You know what I mean? Stoicism is pure fire. That's a double entendre. Don't even ask how.
So Lawrence is a big staunch fire fan. His podcast is about fire. So
Lawrence got a fire podcast?
Lawrence, give us your
yo, what's your podcast, bro?
give us your podcast so we can shout it out.
I want to check it out. I'm all about fire, but that was a double entendre right there. You didn't catch that. Stoicism is pure.
No, I caught it. I caught it because I was going to say something else. I was going to say part of minimalism and stoicism is also cleaning off your glasses, right? Because a lot of times people are running around with foggy glasses, smeared up, and they can't truly see the forest for the hills.
Yeah.
Or the trees for the forest. I'm messing up metaphors here.
But those things help me because, it's like I don't care about what someone else is doing. I'm running my own race. I'm focusing on things that bring value to my life, right? So when you see these flashy things or people trying to run these plays, like when everybody was like, I'm doing Toro, like I didn't care. You know what I'm saying? Like when everybody's like,
everybody wanted to do Airbnb.
Well, you got to get an Airbnb. I don't care. And it's funny because being in real estate, everybody just assumes I do Airbnb. I've never done an Airbnb. Don't plan on doing one. May not be able to do one. And by the way, Kamari, that was a mean segue I just gave you.
Oh, you did. And I caught it. It was a great alley-oop.
I does this, bro.
Yeah, we do this.
We do this. Lawrence, I'm on that right now. I'm about to download your pod right now. The financial grill. Oh, the name is fire too.
All right. So before we transition to our main topic, which will be the downfall of Airbnb, I want to give Lawrence a shout out to his podcast, the Financial Grill Podcast. Money story since that self-maturity builds wealth no matter what. Okay. That was a comment. I thought it was part of the title. Sorry. All right.
Okay, you got 115 episodes. He's getting busy.
Yeah, Lawrence gets busy. He's serious about his.
All right.
We don't always agree, but I think we always have fun. I think is that fair, Lawrence?
That's what matters. Like, listen, like I told you, bro. Like, it ain't about agreeing all the time, man. It's about trying to get to the same place, man.
Because some people.
Lawrence, I'm just letting you know, bro. I don't know if y'all can see that. I got you though, bro. I'm gonna check it out once I get off here, man. I love to support creators that look like us.
Not to just say black creators.
I mean, I could, same thing. But anyway.
No, that's a different connotation. I find that a lot of black people are afraid to say that black or of African descent.
Yeah,
they'll say that they are people of color. What's the new term now? BIPOC. I mean,
I don't play the BIPOC game. Listen,
I am so like, what abbreviations? I'm abbreviations done right now. Like,
so it's funny, right? What's funny is a lot of other people like the cauliflower colonizers, like they respect it when you are just some of them at least. Yeah. So I was on a plane. I had like my Buy the Hood shirt on. And if you ever go to the Buy the Hood website, the first thing you see on the Buy the Hood website says Black wealth is Black power. And then on the plane when I get off, the person was like, Black wealth is Black power. I love that. And a lot of times those are, the cauliflower colonizers. They love it. When you stand on, what you believe in. So, but I'm not afraid of that. I just happen to say it that way because.
Oh, I know you're not.
Yeah.
But while we're here, we got to put it up right. Black wealth is Black power. I don't see it. I don't see
Very
it.
top, very top. You go to bodyhood.com, very
All
top.
right, let me just put it up on the screen. Put it up on the screen.
Not the campsite, the other site, just the regular bodyhood.com, man.
Oops. What's going on here? They moved all my stuff. All right, we're going to come back to that.
Yeah, it's the very thing. The first thing you see is the logo right below that. Black wealth is black power. That's the way we on, man.
All right, well, I'm gonna do something real quick because they keep adding all these new
features in this.
These new features, and I can't figure them out.
All you gotta do is share your screen, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hit present. Like,
well, no, I had that a minute ago, and then it just went away. I don't know why. So maybe I need to. Oh, there it is. All right, I got it. I got it.
Okay.
Here we go. My bad, y'all. All right, I'll come back and play with that later.
Hey, yo.
All right, so talking about Airbnb, right? Everybody wanted to run the Airbnb play, the Turo play, all these plays. But it seems like Airbnb is getting the shit kicked out of it across the globe. So New York is cracking down. Philly is cracking down. I know there's some spaces down south that are cracking down on Airbnb. And even overseas is cracking down. So Airbnb is under under pressure, under numerous sites, political pressure. And it's really interesting how people are going to pivot. Now, I've had some clients who were doing Airbnb, and to be honest, I was okay with them taking up one of their doors and Airbnb-ing it out because the rental income, like for me, cash flow is everything, right? Cash flow is everything in business. And so Airbnb presents an opportunity to generate faster cash flows than your typical rent. However, what we're seeing is that everybody's getting this place trying to run the plays, but they're really janky with it. And so it's causing all kind of problems.
Yeah.
And the hotel lobby, who I feel is behind all of this, is like tired of it. Is tired of it. So Jimmy, why didn't you ever do any Airbnb with any of your real estate?
Well, because first of all, like having people and even clients of mine that have done it, they would tell me some of the negatives about it. And I'm more about like security. Believe it or not, I'm one of the more conservative folks when it comes to investing. I know you know, sometimes folks don't believe that because I'm a Bitcoiner, but I am for the most part. And I like to have tenants in place, long-term tenants in place. A lot of my tenants have been there for years and years and years. And that's kind of like what I focus on. And I also knew the politics of it. Some of the things that's interesting about this whole Airbnb crackdown is some of these rules were put in place. And that's what I was telling you yesterday. I said, yo, the New York
Hold on, Jimmy. Hold on. I'm not doing you justice. So Jimmy, a few minutes ago, said he was in Utah at a conference presenting. He was presenting about real estate. So Jimmy is a real estate expert, especially in the area of appraisals. So go ahead, Jimmy. I just wanted to add that for context.
Yeah. So the thing is, I knew from a political standpoint. So I got a lesson, and I think this is also a lesson for a lot of folks. You and I have talked about this as well. A lot of people that are in this space of like, you know, building wealth or what have you, this is their first go round in terms of market cycles, right? I was around in 08. I was around in 01. I'm an old man, so I've seen multiple cycles. So
is that three or four cycles, right?
When I started investing, the first stock I bought, I remember the year. I was a teenager, but it was 1996. I bought a share of Coca-Cola. Actually, I bought the time it was like 100 shares of Coca-Cola. You know, I was income tax balling. Someone taught me how to buy stock. Crazy part about that is like back in 96, I had to actually go to the brokerage firm at like 17th and Walnut and drop a check off. It was so old. That's why
I think that's a key point, right? So I think the first stock I bought was in like 98, 99. But what you said, like, is normally the stock market cycles and the real estate cycles are very, very close.
So
actually,
I saw the
real estate cycles usually fall out first. But
I saw like a tech bubble. So I saw like a tech bubble. I saw 01. You know what I mean? I saw, the .com bubble, they call it. I saw the .com bubble. I saw,
9/11.
9/11. So I've seen all these things. So, and that's the thing, when you've seen it and you have the experience and you try to tell someone, especially like over this last several years when everybody was running the bag up, they didn't care. Like they didn't even want to hear your experience, right? They're like, look, the market's always going to go up. I'm like, the market doesn't consistently go up, right? Over time, right? It does, right? But it has its ebbs and flows. So
let me jump in real quick. Let me think about something. There's a kid on here that said to me, analysis doesn't matter anymore. And to give you the context, we were talking about the meme stocks, and it was either Foot Locker or the other one. What was the other one?
Bed Bath and Beyond, GameStop.
Not GameStop. Mm-hmm. He said, you don't need to do any analysis. And I was like, wow, these Reddit millionaires are really.
And he was dead serious too, wasn't he?
Dead serious. Yes, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Listen, man. Sean Carter, your guy says only so long fake thugs can pretend, man. That's the fact. but I was going somewhere with this. So to tell a quick story, back in early 2000s, I had a website which was called Uptown Gambler. It was a casino. This is before DraftKings, before all the stuff that's out there now. The way it was structured is there was another company that was offshore. They had the servers, they ran the games and all that. I was just doing the marketing. So I found this business. I set this business up. And during football season back then, I used to make a couple grand every weekend. And I just literally would hand out shirts and flyers that said uptowngambler.com. I was just marketing the website.
If anybody has never seen the movie Boiler Room, please watch it now. That's what we call it, Jimmy, going forward.
So it was uptowngambler.com, but it was an online casino. People want money, but a lot of times the people just gambling. And the crazy part is, so I'm sitting there and I'm making plans. I'm like, all right, now I got this thing and I got traffic hitting the site. I'm making this money. George W. Bush, with the swipe of a pen, changed legislation and made that illegal. They shut my site down like this. He signed it with the pen, and later that day, my site was completely gone. And I said, oh, whoa. The lesson there for me was politics and business are just incestuous. Like they're connected. There's no way to avoid it. So a lot of times as we go through these cycles and people saw the market go up and they said the market is always going to go up, they don't understand how politics and business are connected. I had this conversation with fellow real estate investors all the time, why they need to pay attention to the politics locally to see who's in office, see what legislation is being passed, see what they're doing with building permits and zoning and all these type things, because it has an effect on your business. If you were paying attention, you saw what was happening with Airbnb, a couple of years ago. This isn't brand new. And that's what makes the story interesting. They just entered the S&P 500, which is a major accomplishment, and kudos to them for being able to accomplish that. And then a couple hours later, you start to see all these people that already have legislation say, hey, we're going to start following it now. It sounds like a conspiracy theory. Like the timing is just weird. Like I see why people, somebody didn't make the phone call, but a lot of times with these tech businesses, they don't lobby correctly. I remember reading a book about Microsoft. I'm not sure if it was Gates' book himself. I think it was Gates' book, but he talks about the early days of Microsoft and focusing on technology and business so much that they ignored politics, and it came back to bite them. So remember, they got sued for antitrust, right?
Yeah.
After
in Europe and in the United States.
After they went through that, they set up a lobbying firm. They actually have an office in DC now, right? But when you read stories of a lot of these tech companies, they ignore that part of business often. I think less now than they used to, because of the examples of, say, a Microsoft and a Google and some of these that have already been attacked.
Right.
But you can see this happening with them. Like this legislation, I remember our sister Courtney, not Courtney, it was Tracy actually, who was posting about this years ago. Like, be careful with these Airbnbs because the hotel lobbies and the politicians, I guess they didn't get their pockets didn't get greased right.
And the hotel lobby is super duper strong. And so anytime you have a strong lobby, you are going to have politicians that come out very, very fervently for or against a position.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't even make sense why they come out so vigorous for a situation. But the money's driving it.
Yeah, yeah. That's what it's always about, man. It's always about that chicken.
Fact. So, you were talking about it. Tracy was talking about it. I know I was talking about it. I believe the city, they were working on something for a while, then they finally revamped or rolled it out. I think it was last year sometime. City
Mm-hmm.
of Philadelphia, that is.
Mm-hmm.
And then now New York's rolling out. And, just looking at some of the articles and things that are happening, I saw one city said they're looking to ramp down 85% of the activity because many people feel that the Airbnb space is taking away from housing stock, which is creating a conundrum for housing, fair housing, affordable housing out here. So a lot of people are for it.
Man, it's so many issues with it in terms of I had a guy who was like one of the lieutenants in the police force tell me that they have an issue with them because people are using the trap out of.
Yeah.
People
Or party out of, or both.
Yeah, like they will get an Airbnb and that's what they do. That's where they go cook up, whatever it is they got to do. That ain't my life. But I'm just saying, like, so those complaints are getting to the people. So it's just a whole lot that comes with that. And to your point, I think the biggest part is the hotel lobby because they had to take an effect on that to the point where now you see hotels coming up with their own Airbnb product. You know what I mean? So that's never been my thing, right? I understand the allure of getting that money that fast, right? But it still comes with other things I didn't want to deal with. I'd rather have something secure. Most of my tenants are, government Section 8 tenants, so I have a contract with the government. That's most of my stuff. So, that's what I focus on.
All right, so I want to pull up this article from the New York Times right here. So this is the New York Times. New York City crackdown on Airbnb is starting. Here's what to expect. And let me get back. All right, so New York City's crackdown on Airbnb is starting. Here's what to expect. Now, the one thing I got out of this article that I thought was like crazy is you read this here. New York City officials have estimated that as many as 10,000 short-term rentals listed on Airbnb at the end of last year were illegal. Illegal. And so when you look at that, do me a favor. Go on YouTube and just Google or search short-term rentals and see how many people are talking about running the play. But are they talking about doing it legally or illegally? I'm always pressing for legal because Black folks are already under the gun with the criminal justice system. Ain't no need in adding any more pressure. That's just my take. But there's this piece right here. It says Airbnb has said that the new rules amount to a de facto ban on the platform. And other critics say the city is bending to the lobbying of the hotel industry and locking out cheaper options for visitors. And Airbnb is suing New York right now. And they got money, so this is going to go for a long time. But for all of y'all who are thinking about Airbnb, well, first of all, put in the chat how many of y'all are Airbnb or thinking about Airbnb, and what are you doing now? Tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah, man, because how many people I saw during what they call it, the pandemic, who were buying places strictly for Airbnb. Like it wasn't like I have an empty unit and I want to Airbnb it. It's like, no, I'm buying this whole apartment complex with the sole purpose of Airbnb.
Yeah, some of these rules though in New York are wild though. Like they want you to only basically rent rooms. They don't want you to rent the entire premises, and all the doors have to be open, which to me is a major security issue. Yeah,
they trying to get you. They trying. Yeah, I mean that's why they said it's a de facto ban, right?
Yeah, I mean that's crazy. That's crazy. But all right, while y'all are commenting on here, let's go back to some of these comments real quick. All right, so Lawrence loves to tell people he loves to stun on us. He was like, I really became a millionaire in 6 years. It's still wild.
All right, Lawrence. What episode can I hear your story? I know you tell your own story on the pod. What episode can I hear your story, bro?
All right, Black Wealth is Black Power. Matter of fact, Lawrence, I need to have you on to tell your story.
Damn, man, that was my next question for Lawrence. You just trying, but you know how we do, bro. It's all good.
I was about to say,
you know how we do, bro.
I was about to say, anytime like I find somebody who I feel that needs to get a push and is good and solid, if I interview them, I call Jimmy up and say,
"Hey, let's get it.
I need you to have them on." This ain't no podcast payola either.
No, man. This is
just black media banding together what it used to be and saying, "Hey," what it still is to these days, and saying, "Hey, these are the stories that need to be told."
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, here we go, right here. Down to earth. I got rid of my apartment at $2,200 a month to stay at an Airbnb for a few months until I buy my house. All right, what I get that. 2,200 versus 13. Good neighborhood. All the amenities safe. I'm good. I got that. It's a transition.
So here's the thing, though. I come across a couple of folks who are traveling nurses, and that's how they've been surviving. Like when they come into an area for 6 months, 8 months, they do an Airbnb. And for the owner, that's cool. You lock somebody in 8 months. For them, they get a full house. So it has its place, but it's just the border got kind of muddy there. K. Dickey said I'm a hotel person. I am too.
Yeah. No, I mean, so during the pandemic, me and the family, we ran out during the holidays. We went to Martha's Vineyard and we got an Airbnb.
Whoa, that's the wealthy black. That's
nobody there. Was shut down.
That's our kind of people talk right there.
But listen, I love when anybody has a chance, look up the history of Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, Maury is part of the Negro bourgeoisie, huh?
Nah, I wouldn't say bourgeoisie. I do like nice things, and I do love the history of Martha's Vineyard.
Okay.
One of the places on the Underground Railroad, one of the first places where black folks could buy land there. They could do a lot. Even amongst this whole debacle with the Republicans acting shady when they bust people to Martha's, they thought it was gonna be crazy. They took them in there, treated them good.
So we got a new alias for you. Know we got the Baba Mar alias. That's when you go full hotep. When you go full bourgeoisie,
I'll take that. What's that?
When you go full bourgeoisie, we call you Jack and Jill Mar. And then we got Jack and Jill Mar. We got Baba Mar. It's another one of your personalities. When you go,
I can listen. That just means you can't pigeonhole me, right? You can't pigeonhole me. Damn it.
I used to back in the day. I used to work at one of the stops on the Underground Railroad. It was the wildest thing. It's called the Johnson House. It's at Germantown.
Oh, on Germantown and
yeah, that's a stop on Underground Railroad. But if you ever go inside there, some of the stuff they have, it's like a museum. Some of the stuff they have is insane. They have like videos and audios of like actual slaves.
They do
telling their story, and they used to freak me out.
And a little fun fact, because I have a homegirl who's on a board there. The first Juneteenth celebration in Philadelphia was started by the Johnson House.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, and everybody now has kind of co-opted it. I won't say co-opted it, but they do their own thing now, and it's not done together and cohesively, sadly. All right, so Down to Earth says all the rooms in the house
have keypad.
Have keypad locks. Gotcha. Yeah. The history of the Inkwell Martha's Vineyard is fascinating. Yes, it is. It is. Like, now there was one more thing I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to get your opinion on, Jimmy. But give me a minute. I gotta pull that up.
Talking about what is it? What is it, bro? We gonna talk about Dion?
Nah. I want to talk about something a little bit more serious. What you got for Dion?
Whoa! What's not serious about that? I'm just bringing that up because we just did a podcast on it. So if anybody want to hear my thoughts on Dion, go check out our podcast.
Well, give me the synopsis, because I'm a Dion fan. I'm a Dion fan.
It wasn't my synopsis. My take on it was really a Black Wealth take. It wasn't really a sports take per se, in terms of him having value, understanding his value, and how that he helped put other people on. To me, the more
I see Warren Sapp fucking with him now.
A lot of people are. A lot of his assistant coaches are making a lot of money now. Like he leveraged his value and helped other people. Whether that's the kids that play for him, they're all making a ton of NIL money now, and the assistants and everybody he brought along. So to me, that was the the black wealth angle there is him understanding his value.
Well, everybody said the real reason behind the reason from the Jackson State to the Colorado was because of NIL deals, because his kids couldn't get NIL deals.
Yeah, I mean, I had a critique of not necessarily him leaving, but how it played out. But at the end of the day, though, I think it is a great story in Black Wealth. So that's on our page. That whole conversation that me and Core had about that. But no, what was the other topic you had?
I'm about to show you right now. I want to show you something real quick.
Uh-oh.
It's not bad. Not bad. Well, it actually is bad, but it's something from a real estate perspective that I wanted to get your take on.
Uh-oh.
And I wanted to share with the audience as well.
Who's frauding?
Well, the people who are always frauding are frauding.
Yeah.
So it's not hard to tell.
Online real estate is like turned into WWE at this point.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like every day people are like sending me stuff about like, yo, this person said something about that. People are cutting like full wrestling promos to talk about each other. And I'm like, I thought we was on here talking about, buying land, but that's not what it's about no more.
No, I don't get the clicks. That's boring. In order to make it on social, you got to do something salacious.
Yeah, I'm off. I just want to share memes. I got to get my soundboard. You be stunting on me, man.
You call that stunting? Listen, the soundboard is trouble because I get in trouble. I have one sound from Public Enemy that I get in trouble every time I play it.
Uh-oh.
And it's like 2 seconds. It's brothers and sisters. You know what it is.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, dang, come on. But listen, gotta respect the copyright, right?
They really flag you for that?
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe I don't need a soundboard.
You don't.
Listen, I have a soundboard on our sports pod, and I got like 500 things on there to the point where I barely use half of them because I gotta remember where they are. I went OD. That's why I said if I get one like you have, a physical one, it's gonna be problematic.
No, I get it. All right, so I want to talk about a grandma who's being displaced from her home in South Carolina, or potentially is being displaced from her home in South Carolina.
Okay.
And this, for me, right, it's amongst the Geechee Gullah people.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother growing up, I didn't even know what Geechee Gullah meant, but she always called me a Geechee boy. Like, what's a Geechee boy? I love rice. Both sides of my family are from South Carolina. I'm just now discovering that. And so as I dig deeper into Geechee culture, it's so African. And it's like, oh, this is very refreshing.
Yeah, I don't know anything about my family's from North Carolina, but I don't know anything about Geechee culture. I know Geechee Gotti, the battle rapper, but that's pretty much it.
Yes. So I want to talk about this real quick. That's super low. Give me 1 second. There we go.
What's happening right now on Hilton Island in South Carolina? Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. 93-year-old Josephine Wright is at the center of a lawsuit that picked up attention nationwide. As development goes up around her home, she's literally in the middle of what developers hope could be a new home community. But for Wright, so much more. CNN's Dan Gallagher reports.
We are connected to this land. Our blood runs through these trees.
No matter what, we will keep this land. So this land's going to be here with us. If it's going to be another 200 years, that's the way we look at it.
But not everyone has that same view. The serene marsh and sandy beaches of Hilton Head Island have been home to the Gullah Geechee community since before America became America. But today, community members say development threatens those families who still call it home.
Why should we give up such a precious gift that God has given us?
Josephine Wright has lived in this house on Hilton Head Island for 30 years. But she says her family's home has been on this land since the Civil War, purchased by freedmen and passed down for generations.
And so, again, Black woman, 93 years old, a grandma, right, been here for multiple generations, is potentially going to lose her home.
Great grandmother.
Right, great grandmother, thank you. But it just seems like this issue, even though I know it's Hilton Head, it's luxury beachfront property, this is an issue that's happening everywhere. And it seems like some of the same issues are happening amongst it.
Is she the lady that Kyrie Irving made a crazy donation to help her fight the legal battle?
I will look that up maybe, but let's watch the rest of it.
Her husband, a Gullah descendant, wanted to be sure to keep the land in the family after his passing.
I feel so much pride and comfort in knowing that this is where I will be for the rest of my life.
But the 93-year-old great-great-grandmother has felt little comfort here over the past few months.
This is when we start hearing the trees say boom, boom.
Wright is being sued by a company with plans to build 147 three-story townhomes along this Jonesville Road community, a historic Gullah Geechee neighborhood.
And they were really trying to run the bag up.
Yeah. Kyrie Irving gave her 40 grand to give her a lawyer.
40 grand, right?
Yeah, to pay for a lawyer. Yeah, I did see that. This is her.
Our blood, sweat, and tears are in this land. My ancestors are buried here down at the end of the road.
Today, construction is closing in around Wright's modest home.
Has the developer at any point come to you to speak face to face about this?
No, I've never spoken to any one of them. They have never knocked on my door.
She says about 5 years ago, a woman did ask her about selling the land to an interested anonymous buyer for $39,000.
And I said,
talk about a come up, 39,000. Jeez.
Yeah, she was shooting her shot.
you insulted my intelligence. And would you give them that message?
She says her first communication with the company, Bailey Point Investment LLC, was being served legal notice, which alleges a satellite dish, a shed, and a portion of Wright's screened-in back porch are sitting outside of her property line, encroaching on theirs, according to their land survey. The lawsuit seeks removal, plus just an adequate compensation.
Now, Jimmy, this is why I wanted you to talk about this, because I know you're the man when it comes to appraisals.
For its loss of the use and enjoyment of their property and expenses related to delays in development.
Bailey Point says that the corner.
That little corner is on their property.
So the issue is that corner.
Yes.
Wright has filed.
That's not even like 25 feet, but I mean, an encroachment is an encroachment, right?
Yes, and this is all based upon the legal description that's on, her deed. So she would have to get her own survey to show which part of that land she owns. To me, they're grasping at straws, trying to find a way to attack her.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said, I understand you got to get your own appraisal. And I guess what's the appraisal and
a survey? You got to get a survey.
Thank you. Yeah. That's what word I'm looking for. I understand you got to get your own survey, but yeah, I think they are grasping.
So they haven't done anything technically like illegal, but morally and legality are two different things.
Correct. All right, let's get back to it.
A countersuit alleging Bailey Point and their affiliates are using harassment and intimidation tactics to pressure her off the land. Now, Bailey Point has filed a response denying any harassment, as well as any previous offers to purchase her land. She has received an outpouring of support and donations, even from celebrities like Tyler Perry, Snoop Dogg, Fantasia, and NBA player Kyrie Irving.
There it is.
The town of Hilton Head just announced it is pausing all construction in line with their town code, refusing to issue Bailey Point building permits until the lawsuits are resolved. But Josephine Wright isn't alone in her fight.
She speaks to the Gullah culture and the Gullah desire to fight back.
Luana Graves Sellers runs a nonprofit called the Low Country Gullah Foundation, focused on helping prevent land loss in the Gullah Geechee community. Her nonprofit estimates that since Hilton Head Island became a vacation destination after a mainland bridge was built in the 1950s, the Gullah Geechee have lost nearly 2/3 of their acreage, mostly due to rising property taxes and problems with something called heirs property.
How pervasive is that on this island now?
It's pervasive here, but it's pervasive throughout the South. And unfortunately, heirs property is the primary way that Black people in America are losing their land.
Heirs property is a type of land ownership where a single property may be inherited by multiple members of a family for generations after the original owner passes away. But there's often a lack of clear legal documentation, making families vulnerable to land loss when there are disagreements within the family over selling. In some of these cases here, the land is being purchased by developers.
Just look at this. This is one of the most peaceful areas.
And lost by the Gullah Geechee. But in the case of Josephine Wright, she's standing firm on her ground.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I've never backed down on anything that was right.
Now, on the past couple months leading up to this week, CNN has repeatedly reached out to Bailey Point West and really anyone that we could
the
find
woman looks
associated with
absolutely
the project.
amazing. She's 93 years old.
Yeah.
Doesn't look 93 at all. But I find it interesting, right? Again, the lady said Black people are losing their property in the South and in the North and in the West and in the Midwest because of air property. And a lot of times we're not documenting these things properly so they can work with the legal system.
In my experience, up here in the North, that's how we lose a majority of our land. And a lot of times it's because, our elders, they're trying to do the right thing. So I lost property, again, story time. I've lost property in my own family that way. My grandmother on my father's side had some land in, what was called Dogtown. Now it's just like East Mount Airy. Kamar, you know about that.
I do.
Yeah. So right off of Musgrave on Springer Street. And when my grandmother and grandfather passed, they had, 6 kids and left it all to, left the property to 6 kids. And I don't know about you guys listening or watching, but you can't get 6 people to agree, that the sky is blue. So one person wants to live there, one person wants to sell, one person could care less, one person likes cut me a check when I get it. And what ends up happening is taxes aren't paid, upkeep's not done, property ends up going to sheriff's sale, whatever. So, that's happened to me personally in my family. And the crazy part is in my situation, I tried to buy it from the family. Like, look, let me handle it. But, sometimes in our families think, no, we got this, end up losing the property. But I see it all the time outside of my family. Like, I have clients all the time that, listen, we got to sell this house now. Why do you have to sell? Well, it's getting ready to face foreclosure because grandmom left it to 5 people. Like, this happens every day. And a lot of times, like I said, they're trying to do the right thing. What I started telling people was, listen, find your most, the person that you trust the most in terms of your kids or what have you, and leave it to the one person. Make the person the executor have full control, as long as you can trust that they're going to, take care of everyone else. But that's a problem, not just down south. It's a problem everywhere in our communities, making sure that our paperwork is straight. and a lot of us, are afraid of paperwork. That's a whole other issue. We could talk about that
all day long.
Yeah. People, we have so much wealth out there with insurance policies that have never been paid out because people don't realize that their loved one had insurance, bank accounts, even portfolios. I've seen stories where people had a portfolio, but they never told their family where it was, where they had it, and the family never gets it.
Now, by law, it's supposed to escheat, ESCHEAT. Y'all memorize that word.
Yeah.
The state after a certain time period. But
as
Jimmy said, a lot of times if you don't know the look, you won't. Now, if you got a good attorney, a good estate attorney, they'll know what to look for. But my family's going through a very similar situation. Back Brickyard, we're talking about Germantown neighborhood.
Oh, let's get it. Brickyard. Shout to Brickyard.
Right. So my grandmother had a house in Brickyard on Earlham Street. She had a stroke in 93 and 94. My uncle wound up taking care of her. Somehow the property wound up being in my uncle's name. He's passed since then. Right. His kids don't want nothing to do with it. And then one of the nephews and my aunt were going to sell it and property tax, but nobody really talked about it. And I'm like, man, you got property tax issues. I probably could have remedied a lot of the interest and penalties on some of that stuff. And we could have put a plan together. But like you said, it's hard to get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people to agree on anything.
And that's the sad part, because a lot of our elders know the right thing in terms of buying assets, but that next step of making sure those assets go from one generation to the next. Like that's something that we still have to work on.
It's funny. I heard somebody say today or over the weekend, there is no success without succession. And so a lot of times we're missing out on a succession piece on how to properly lay the foundation legally and functionally, how everything should go.
That's because a lot of times, man, we trying to skip steps. We trying to have like, double blind trust and all sorts
well,
of.
With our elders, I disagree.
But let me finish what I'm saying. A lot of times what I'm finding is people just don't even know where someone's paperwork is. That's a simple thing. That's a simple thing. When my mom passed, she had an insurance policy. And I remember calling, the insurance company and having a conversation with the lady. And she was like, oh, okay, send us this, send us that. And I was asking her, I'm like, well, when were you going to say anything? She said, well, here's the thing. If you don't contact us, we don't know what's going on. We'll never contact you.
Right.
So she was like, there are tons and tons of clients that are sitting here who we probably owe them money, but until they say something to us, we don't cut them a check. So think about that.
I already thought about all the interest that they're collecting on having that money. It's crazy.
So think about that. So think about the fact that if your parent or grandparent has an insurance policy, you have $1 million policy. And if you don't know where it is, you may not even know they have one.
Right.
So, and a lot of times I find we're not even having the conversation, right? I'm dealing with this now, like having a conversation like with my mother-in-law about certain stuff. She don't want to talk about it. She just don't even want to talk about it. And it's like, damn, like, well, we want to know where your stuff is. And she don't want to talk about it because some folks don't like to talk about their demise, right? They just don't want to talk about it.
Well, there's that, and Black folks don't like people in their business. So for years, I was been talking to my dad about certain things, brushed it off, kind of like your mother-in-law, like, nah. I'm like, yo.
No, but I'm telling you, hers is not about being in her business. She don't want to talk about it. Like she's
I get it.
Very superstitious. She's very superstitious. Like,
no, I get it. And I'm gonna say this, but I'm gonna say it lightly, right? Black people have a problem with mental health. And what I mean by that is many of us are, what's the word? Paranoid.
Yeah.
Like I think many of us would register whatever registry you would to be super duper diagnosed as paranoia for various reasons. But my dad wouldn't tell me anything until he recently went to the hospital about 6 months ago. And so, it's crazy. But I also just had an elder in my family pass, cousin of mine pass. And I was actually going to do a whole episode about this. I decided not to go to the repast. This was like maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Next thing I know, my cousins, and I don't really know them, but they wound up on the news because they stabbed each other up.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And so what was it that made you not go?
I don't know. It was with my aunt, and I wound up driving there, and I had to do some other things, but I don't know what it was. I wound up taking my aunt out to lunch or something, and we spent some time together. But I say all that to say is that tying into the paranoia point, right? I was somewhere like the next day, and I was with this white journalist who covers gun violence in Philadelphia. And she was like, I had people having a hard time telling me about how they feel about certain things or like sharing with us. And I said, well, part of the problem is you're asking the wrong question. You're asking about gun violence, right? And she was saying that a lot of times Black folks buy guns because they feel safe. And I said, I'm a gun owner. I don't necessarily feel safe because I own a gun, right? Because I know that it can go down anywhere and somebody may have a drop on you. And you have absolutely no control over that. And then I showed her, because my family made the news for the stabbing incident.
Wow.
And I said, here, look at this. This is my family here. That's not gun violence. It's violence. So my question is to you is, maybe you should ask them, do they feel safe? Ask Black people, do they feel safe? Not safe because of guns, but in generally. I mean, there's some people getting the shit kicked out of them physically with their hands and feet, not with a gun. And I mean, like, you're going to miss all of that and you're reporting. So,
man. See, come on, this is how we
sorry.
No, but because I have a lot of thoughts based upon what you're saying. So I've come to the conclusion probably over the last, I would say, 3 to 5 years that I think part of our issues are personal finance, but mental health is probably just as big of an issue. And I've always said, like, I didn't always feel that way, but again, comes with wisdom, maturity, study, and experience. And I say that because even like personal traumas and personal things that I've dealt with, I never realized because it's my norm.
Yeah.
When you start to travel and experience the world, you realize that like, yo, this don't happen everywhere, right?
Hey, let me just jump in real quick. For my family member who just passed, right? I was over there and some of the folks were sharing some stories with me, and I was just reflecting on, because it's my West Philly side of the family, and then it's me and or the uptown folks, North Philly folks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, there's trauma on all sides of the family. Like, there's no normalcy. What is normal? What is Black normalcy? Like, that's to me like the thing.
So, and I never realized it until you have certain experiences, right? So people be telling me all the time, like, man, you don't share a lot about like, the buildings you buy. Like, listen, people are like, you want the clothes and you ain't post no pictures, none of that. Like, I come from a different era, man. Like,
you come from an era when people used to get duct tape and threw in the trunk.
Absolutely.
And
the crazy part is that still affects me to this day. Like, it literally affects me to this day. So
there's a content creator who's in real estate who Jimmy and I talk about. And we literally are very, very concerned for their livelihood. I won't say too much because I don't want to give it away. But sometimes they give out the whole shebang on what they got going on.
Dude, you got to be safe out here, like, because stuff is real. Like, so for me, I never realized that how much things I've dealt with and just growing up in inner city can affect you. That's my normal though, right?
But it's trauma. And it's good that we can now start to identify it as trauma.
It is, man. And that's why, like, we gotta have our own spaces we could talk about. I went to one of the Black Men Hill events last year.
Shout out to Black Men Hill.
And we create safe spaces for brothers to get together and just have a conversation. And some of the stuff brothers was talking about, man, like, it was one of the best experiences I've ever had, because you start to realize, like, damn, I'm not alone, for one, and for two, people are out here dealing with stuff.
Yeah,
people are really out here dealing with stuff, right? So I think that's important that we focus on that as we continue to have these Black wealth talks. Mental health has to be a bigger part of it. It can't just be, debt reduction or run this play or do this or Airbnb. We got to have a talk about how we're actually feeling out there, because that can affect our wealth.
Well, I think you and I probably look at wealth the same way. It's not just money, right? Wealth, if you get to the etymology of the word, really talks about wholeness. And you can't talk about wholeness without health, mental and physical health. So we're always talking about that, right? How can Black folks really get the real bag if many of us have really undiagnosed anxiety and paranoia issues?
Yeah,
there's a lot of folks in my family who I know have those issues. So when we talk about this, I feel we need more empathy a lot of times when talking about these subjects. But sometimes folks is like, work hard, go home now. I'll give Jimmy credit because he's like, the working man is a sucker. And I know what he's saying.
That's not the saying. The saying is hard work.
Okay.
Hard work is for some.
All right, that's me adding on from Bronxdale.
Yeah, you hit me with the collodion. No.
Yes.
I said hard work.
Break that down for a minute, Jimmy, because I think you have a valid point. I don't agree with it 1,000%, but I know where you're driving to.
So I have this thing, right? I have this thing where every time people, you just got to work harder, It is not really about working harder, right? It's about working smarter. Because I know people that work extremely hard, 3 and 4 jobs, and they never get ahead. They never create a better quality life for their family, but they work hard as hell, but they never work smart. And a lot of times we are in love with our labor, right? We are in love with our labor to the point we don't focus on other attributes, right? When you look at the 4 agents of production in economics is land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship or / management. So those are the 4 agents, but we focus on nothing but labor and just working hard. And I don't care how hard you work. It doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get ahead or have a better quality life or create any sort of wealth for your family. Doesn't mean that you don't work. It just means that you work smart. And working smart encompasses a lot of things, right? It encompasses working on your mental health. It encompasses creating your network. It encompasses putting yourself in the right place at the right time. But I just think the whole idea of if you work hard, everything will work out for you is BS. I know a lot of people who work hard and have nothing to show for it. So that's the whole point there.
No, I mean, I agree. You got to work hard and work smart. And sometimes working hard says, take a break.
No, absolutely. Listen, man, like, I'm not going to use the terminology they say the soft life, but listen, you gotta work smart and put yourself in the right place at the right time. I also want to send a shout out to the brother Doug, who was with Black Man Hill, because he's running another organization, I should say event called the Brothers Keeper Tour. And he's having an event in Delaware on the 30th. And, so I'm actually one of the panelists there and was talking about, the holistic approach to wealth. So shout out to him, man. So that's going to be dope. But his whole thing is about bringing brothers together in spaces to have these conversations, man.
Now, do you watch the show, Jimmy?
Yes. I am behind right now. I'm not caught up completely.
All right, so I'm going to say this one thing. It's a little bit of a spoiler alert, but it's in the vein of what we're talking about. They just I love The Chi because I feel like The Chi is probably the only show that really shows the full totality of the Black experience.
Okay.
Meaning that it's not all street, but there's some street stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There are some professionals. There's some educated people. There's some people coming home, right, trying to rehabilitate themselves and get back in the flow of things.
And it's Master Marchand too.
Yes, yes, this Master Marchand. Yes, yes, our resident Hotep. Yes, we need Master Marchand, right? But the one thing I've always loved with this show, and I know some people don't like the show because it shows some of the more, I don't want to call it exotic, but the more not talked about things of life, of Black culture.
Yeah.
They don't like talking about LGBTQI.
Mm-hmm.
There's transgender situations, there's gay situations,
mm-hmm.
but there's great brotherhood in this show. And I think from the very first episode when my man Jason Mitchell was on as Brandon,
mm-hmm.
they showed him as mentoring some of the younger cats
mm-hmm.
in a very, very positive light. Right? A lot of times when we talk about mentorship, it's always hypersexualized. That wasn't what it was about. And so in this last episode, they did a brother circle. And so Trigg, who is Luke James, if anybody who's familiar, the singer Luke James, who's now a politician on the show, says, yo, let's do a brother circle. We get together, smoke weed, drink, and talk shit. Let's get together and really talk and be supportive of one another. And they did that. And I thought it was really good to show on screen because we don't talk enough about one supporting brothers and sisters and how we can emulate some of these things and put them in practice. So
that's a great
check out that episode, Jimmy.
But also, on my Master Marchand thing, you got to be careful with the word mentorship too, because historically speaking, mentorship did include some of those things you just talked about. I like to use the term Jenga, right? So anyway, I don't want to go off into a tangent, but
let
me take my kufi off for a second. I was about to put my
put it back on, man. Get you a dashiki too while you're at it.
I was about to put my kufi on to talk about the term mentor.
Get you some sandals as well.
The history of the term mentor, and that's why
I don't know about the history. What's the etymology?
I don't want to go too deep into it, but some of the things that you talked about, back in let's say in the Greek days, there was a sexual aspect to the term mentorship, right? So the better term is Jengaship. So look up the word Jenga, right? And Jenga is the appropriate term for what you're describing. But again, I'm taking my kufi off. Let's keep it moving.
Listen, I love the history. I have seen some research on that. I will definitely say that.
Well, we gotta start a channel on YouTube just to get in our Hotep bag.
Listen, you and I should do something I've been wanting to do. I want to review shows.
A Hotep channel, yeah.
And
I'm with that.
It can be very Hotep-y.
Yeah, the Hotep view of a show, yeah.
Listen, we can review The Chi, we can do Power, we can do Billions, we can do a whole bunch of stuff. I just want to have fun.
Absolutely. That's what it's about.
All right, I want to show this clip though I did have a clip talking about that very thing with the brother circle. Real quick.
I'll check in with y'all. See how y'all doing.
Number 3, I want to invite.
Now, I want to try to start this from the beginning. Let's see if we can do that. There we go.
Why don't we get started?
All right. I guess I'll kick things off.
Hey y'all, my name is Natalie Patterson. I am the Director of Training and Programs at BEAM, the Black Emotional and Mental Health Collective. We are a national training, movement building, and grant making institution committed to the liberation and wellness of Black and marginalized folks. I'm here to share a couple of tips when creating a healing circle. Number 1, I want to invite you to check in with yourself to make sure that you have the emotional capacity to hold space for others.
Man, I think my is more internal. Gotta stop trying to be Superman.
Number 2, create intentional space. How are you inviting people to join? Is it safe? Is it accessible?
I know usually when we get together, it's to play poker, smoke, talk about work. But tonight, I just want to check in with y'all. See how y'all doing.
Number 3, I want to invite you to remember that every single person has something to contribute. And while you are the guide, you're not the boss.
Like how we doing emotionally?
How you doing in general? I want to talk about the things we don't normally talk about with other people.
Number 4, you want to co-create agreements with the group. You want to make sure that each person can talk without being interrupted. You want to make sure that confidentiality is honored. What we say here stays here.
Oh, you mean like sex stuff?
Whatever you want to talk about. I want this space to be a safe space. No judgment. No judgment.
Number 5, I want to invite you to think about that healing is not linear, right? And people need support beyond just the circle you create. What are the tools you will provide?
We want to know how we can support y'all, man. How we can support each other. The floor is open. Whoever wants to start talking can just start.
If you want to learn more about how to create your own healing circle, you want access to tools, resources, and support, join us over at beam.community/theshy and come to our next healing circle. All right, y'all. Bye-bye.
So I wanted to show that because I feel it's super important, right? And Jimmy, we were talking about doing an event for the brothers.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we should really champion.
Yeah, and I still want to do that.
Okay. And
I saw the comment. I didn't know I said Jenga, so it's Jegna. But that comes from African culture, and it's like I think it's warrior, hero, along those lines. But yeah, it's Jegna. I guess I pronounced it wrong. So I'm gonna make sure I say it right. And I appreciate that. Whoever their name is like quadruple 07. Yeah, Jegna. So Jegna. I'm making sure I pronounce it right. Jegna is the word I was saying, as opposed to using the term mentorship. But once we get off here, Kamara, get your research on, throw your kufi on and look that up.
I'll keep it ready.
Okay, got you. But I appreciate that though. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think these are the things, again, this is the real work that needs to be done. Jimmy did a meme yesterday based off of a conversation we talked about. People are like fighting back and forth over what high yield savings account they should get, but most of these folks ain't got more than $400 in their account. I've seen some studies saying 1,000, and there is some valid to that. But the point being is that it might be better to go look for a healing circle or a therapist as opposed to spending time trying to find $2 extra in a year. So
a lot of times we don't want to deal with reality or what the data is, right? Because a lot of us, believe, a lot of us, let's face it, man. A lot of people out here really believe they're going to be a billionaire one day, right? And statistically,
but
let me say this: I'm not trying to be Christopher Rios and be a dream shatterer. What I'm saying,
know what that is.
Big pun.
Oh.
I shatter dreams like Jordan assaulting back. No, anyway, what I was saying is I'm not trying to be a dream shatterer, but what I'm saying is statistically speaking, most of us won't, right? Mm-hmm. So let's face the reality. Most of us don't have $1,000 for an emergency. That's what the data says. Most of us don't pay our credit cards in full at the end of every month, although everybody on my timeline says they do, but that's not what the data says. And a lot of times,
drives me crazy.
We don't want to deal in reality and operate from that standpoint because, again, we love being sold hope. Nothing wrong with that, right? Got to have a little bit of hope to survive in this world. But at the end of the day, let's face reality. Let's look at some of the facts. Let's look at the data.
I am somebody.
The data says that, as a collective, we're broke, right? So we need to focus on the foundational things. We got to fight politically for what we're due, but we also need to make sure that we are able to use the resources we have to grow. You told me something yesterday that I had never heard before, which was the average amount of inheritance. And when you told me that, it just made me laugh. You gave me a number. You said it was less than 50,000. That's the average.
46,000.
That's the average inheritance. And as I was sitting there listening to you say that, I'm like, so why are people? I know people that have spent $25,000 setting up these exotic trusts that they saw someone on IG say set up. So you're spending $26,000 to inherit $46,000, right? Again, we're talking about facts now, not people's opinion or how they feel. But the system has tricked people into defending things because they defend some of this behavior because in their head, they believe one day I'm going to be a billionaire. And they don't really attack the things that affect them right now. They're protecting things that will affect them if they hit that level. Most of us will never hit that level, right? It's a really sick thing when you think about it. So again, this is all psychology though, but a lot of us have fallen into this trap, brother, and it's sad, which is why we have to focus on what you said, healing circles, saving, just basic saving, right? People out here trying to buy.
But here's the thing, and people don't realize it, right? Because we're talking about jumping stacks, but just connected all the dots. I believe, and I'm sure there's a study that shows, the more people that get therapy and do some of the smaller things will be able to catapult themselves to higher levels of wealth if they do the homework. That's what I believe.
I believe that. Because
think about how many.
But how do you make that
sexy?
Yeah.
I don't know, and I'm wrecking my brain. My intention is to present that, right? I don't know that, and I do believe you got to make some things. You got to gussy them up a little bit. But at what point are we so put on to doing the gussying up, the shiny shoe thing, that we miss the intention of what we're here to do?
Yeah.
And that's a thin line, I believe, right? I mean, the audience, y'all tell me, would y'all rather me come out? Because I had a buddy tell me, he's like, Kamar, you know more than 99.9% of these people are here, but you're not sexy enough. And I said, you want me to throw money around? He was like, maybe. I was like,
but see, that's not who you are. So
exactly.
Me, exactly. Even if I was achieve success by doing it, I wouldn't feel right? Because
you feel shitty.
Yeah, because that's not who I am. But I've seen people take that leap, I like to say they went full Atlanta, where they're like, look, I'm just going to sell out and do what I got to do to get to where I got to be. But
no shade, y'all.
No shade to nobody in Atlanta, but they say most people in Atlanta works I mean, Philly ain't too far off. Let's not behave like we that far off.
No, not at all. But here's the article I was talking about: average American inheritance by wealth level, right? And so they're just showing you what the levels are for average, right? So average is a little bit. There's people above and people below. All right, so amongst the top 1%, the average inheritance is $719,000. The expected inheritance is $941,000. We can round it up and just say $1 million. All right, now that's people at the top 1%. If you go to the 40%, more of the average, more of the mean of where people are, the average inheritance was $45,900. So I was wrong earlier. The expected inheritance was $60,000.
Okay.
Now, the one thing I do want to nerd out just for a minute, give me a minute, y'all. Inheritance is a very technical term. Typically, your insurance is not included in inheritance. your insurance proceeds. So who knows what people's insurance are getting? But I would bet that it's probably around the same distribution.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think it probably is, but that number, and when you see some of the things that people are actually talking about and doing, that just it gives me a whole different perspective. Like I didn't realize that was the median, right? Was that the mean or the median?
Well, it just said here. Let me go back to it. That
it say average, or
it said
median?
Average, and it was talking about different.
Yeah, but it says average, right?
Yes, it says average.
So even that, right? So now if we took the median, that number more than likely would be lower.
Yes, but then here, look here, your bottom 50%. The average inheritance is $9,700.
That just gives me.
I mean, so what does that tell you? Is everybody on IG lying?
I mean, that's a fact anyway. Everybody on IG is already lying. Like, listen, man, I've seen some of your favorite real estate gurus in bankruptcy court. So, but that's neither here nor there. It's so.
You talking about Donald Trump? You talking about 45? You talking about the orange monkey?
I ain't talking about him. I'm talking about some other folks that be out here, selling the gazillion-dollar mentorship, and meanwhile they facing foreclosure. So anyway, with that being said, though, you talked about mental health. I think another thing is, man, we need to read more, man.
Yeah, and I mean that goes back to my thing about literacy. 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. And I think many of us we're insecure about our reading levels, our comprehension levels. But the only way to fight that is to read more.
Yeah. I'm reading a book right now that's like, it's just, and it's probably something that I'm going to continuously read probably like every year. It's one of those.
What's the name of it?
Yurugu. Have you read Yurugu?
Damn. I just got it. Just got it.
Really? Okay.
I just got it because I've been hearing about it for years, right?
Wait till you get into it, though. So I'm getting into it now.
But no. Hold on, bro. I've read, is it the author's note or the intro? And they're talking about the DT. And I'm like, oh, I should have been read this.
Yeah, so as I'm reading this book, you ever read a book before, and as you read the book, you like get out into the world and you just look at everything different. It's almost like a Matrix moment.
Yes.
You just start to see
everything moves slow.
Yeah, it's one of those books. And the thing about it is Corey has been hounding me to read this. I've had the book for a couple.
Corey's read this?
At least a year. I've had it, but I haven't like really I picked it up because I've been reading so many other things. But I started reading it, and it's one of those. It's definitely one of those, man. All
right, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to propose this right now.
Okay.
You and I, Corey too, if he wants to do it, we're going to start a Rebel Hood or Rebel by the Hood, whatever you want to call it.
I like that Rebel Hood works. That sounds dope.
Yeah. A book club.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about not just the money shit. We're going to talk about the real stuff too.
Okay. Are we going to add Ashley and Jaquavis in the mix too?
No.
Okay. I'm just asking, man.
We can do that on the side though, because I am a fan. I'm a fan. I ain't gonna lie. I am a fan.
They listen, man. They literary geniuses, man. But anyway, though, we can stick to the real stuff and the money stuff. We can do that. But but I think that if we focused on reading a lot more too, so
yeah, absolutely.
That's definitely got to be a part of those pillars. We got to come up with the pillars. The internet loves numbers and pillars and stuff like that. We talked about the mental health part. Literacy is another big part.
Yeah, that's easy.
So yeah.
All right. I know you got the ASCII code here. Kamar, look up peracity. All right, I'll look it up. Let me write it down. I hope I'm saying it right. Let me know if I'm saying it right.
Yeah, that's what the mentors was doing.
That must mean it was doing rape. Don. Very true, right? There's so much knowledge.
My guy Don, man.
There's so much knowledge in books, right? Especially when you just look at it if you look at it from a non-egotistical vantage point, people that are doing books, real people, not folks who are just doing chat GPT and then throwing books together and no copywriting, no proofing. But people that do real books typically have done years of research, truncated that book, then given it to you that you can maybe read in a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, right? They give you all kinds of gems. Why wouldn't you want to read? It's a free. Reading is the cheat code.
Books are. I feel like sometimes books are like not only like teachers themselves, their vacations. Like
absolutely,
it's you can practice escapism through books. Like it's a way to learn.
That is something you have to be careful with. I agree with that. Escapism.
Yeah,
all forms of escapism usually is bad, but
fact though,
a little vacation, right, is cool.
Listen, shout out to Don too, because that book that he has is his logo there. The Black Titan, A.G. Gaston book was a pretty good one too. Like, I know Kamari got it.
That's right. I show off my books.
Well, that's Black Fortunes.
Oh damn it, you're right.
Yeah, he got the A.G. Gaston.
I got too excited.
It's called the Black Titan.
I'm gonna just start showing books.
I mean,
I know you got some. Come on, with
I got a whole iPad right here. I got a Kindle with like I can't.
That's the one thing. I got plenty of Audible, but I can't do that. I can't read electronically. I gotta have to touch it, feel it, smell it. I'm trying to get there, but
so I actually prefer, and it's funny because I gave away so many books when I got a Kindle. So what I did was the ones that are on Kindle, I replaced them with the Kindle because funny thing is, if you use an actual Kindle, it's a lot better than trying to do it on an iPad or any sort of tablet. But the Paperwhite Kindle is an amazing experience. And I just like it because I have access to several hundred books with this one little thing.
Right. Listen, functionally, it makes a lot of sense. But
and it's hard for me to
feel of it is.
Yeah, it's hard for me to actually read. I'm on the opposite side of that. Now it's hard for me to read regular books. I'm like, yo, it's late. I gotta get a night light and I gotta flip this. I'm like, I ain't trying. Anyway.
So for y'all who are watching and listening, I want to know, how do y'all prefer to read? Do you prefer the book, soft title, hardback, right? Or do you prefer the Kindle or something electronic? Put it in the chat.
I told you I'm a struggling minimalist too, so that helps with that as well.
Listen, I would like to be a minimalist. If y'all saw my studio, y'all be like, you need to be a minimalist, right?
I told you I'm a struggling minimalist, man. Like I'm a work in progress.
I'm not even struggling. I'm just feeling. Listen,
I'm not ready to do that yet.
Part of this, we just gotta be honest, man.
No, I'm not ready to say it because I be trying. I'm not here really trying. I'm really trying, man. I'm a struggling minimalist. I'm a struggling stoic. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it, man.
All right, so before we wrap up, Jimmy, I want you to think about one book on Stoicism everybody should read. But let's get through these real quick.
Okay.
All right, so John Jane says she was on Indigenous Neck. Yes, the sister in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And I thought this was really interesting. Thank you for this down to earth. Gullah people have the highest African DNA in the country. So that might explain a lot. Like 95%. I believe many of them trace via language and customs to Igbo. I've heard Igbo, I've heard Yoruba as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised at any of it. And let's see. All right, K Diggy says my family has a yearly family meeting. Shout outs to you to discuss heirs and who owns what. K Diggy, you might have a couple dollars. Let me hold $1, bro.
No, but that right there is dope.
We have legal documentation for everything. That is super dope. So shout out to you and your family. That's something we all should do, and that's actually something that's well documented that the 1% or the wealthy do. They'll have these family meetings. Matter of fact, there was a book I read many years ago, and they were talking about the difference between the Rockefeller family and the Vanderbilts. And they said the Rockefeller family was more successful because they were about equal at one point. The difference being is that the Rockefellers got together at least once a year. The Vanderbilts didn't put that much time into spending time amongst their family. So that just goes to show relationships matter. Relationships matter.
Yeah.
All right, Lawrence says, all right, there's a lot of financial influencers with these issues too: anxiety, fear, paranoia, self-hate, tiredness, mental fatigue, depression.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that because they're always trying to.
Well, they don't talk about it. They don't talk about
Right.
it. A lot
They
of them
don't talk
actually
about
deal
it.
with it.
I agree. I agree. To Jimmy's point, I don't dream of labor ever. I work, but I dream to travel, learn, and teach. I don't dream of labor ever. All right, shout out to you, Lawrence. That's dope.
Shout out to the greatest writer of all time, James Baldwin. When they asked him what was his dream job, and his response is, "I don't dream of labor. I don't have a dream job. I don't dream of labor." Jegna, that's it.
All right, so we can call it the Hotepi Book Club. All right. I wrote it down. I'm gonna look that up. Now this looks interesting. African psychology, Dr. Wade Nobles. I've heard of Dr. Wade Nobles before.
I haven't heard of that book. I'm actually taking a picture right now because shout out to I'm gonna say Quad 7. I don't know, I don't know who that is, but shout out to you though. No, but they make it. I love book recommendations, so I just added that.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to have book club open in the public though. We might have to go behind a wall or something.
It's fine.
Private Zoom or something.
Yeah.
Okay, saying be authentic. All right. Yeah, so I'm not going to be running around throwing money.
Don't go Atlanta, man. Don't go full Atlanta.
Listen, I love the idea of Atlanta. Maynard Jackson was a G.
Mm-hmm.
And he should be revered, him and Marion Barry. So, yep, Don Johnson, yep. Of course, Jose, you're already family.
Say less.
I enjoy having the actual physical copies of books, but due to always being on the go, I'm using Audible. Yeah, I use Audible a lot. I can listen. My primary learning modality is listening.
Got you.
I like physical books because I like to see and feel my progress. Okay.
So Kindle has done a good job of like adding things to the software to make it to kind of like, give you that feeling. But that's either here nor there. Like even with the turning the pages and all that.
All right, Kindle is a top 5 electronic I own. Kindle all the way. Easier to take notes. Okay.
It is.
Well, I've never owned a Kindle, so maybe I've always had the Kindle app.
Nah, it's different.
Right. So maybe I'll try it out.
Gotta get that paperweight, dog.
Okay. So down there it says I like Kindle and physical books. Okay. By the way, this is a great market research for me, y'all. I get to see what my audience really likes. And it seems like it's 50-50. All right, I like both, but I feel better with the tangible book. Do you feel smarter? Mostly because if the technology owner discontinues the software supporting the books, I won't lose access to my favorite books. All right, that's a fact.
So I thought about that too. So
relationships definitely matter. Yes.
There's ways you can get the PDFs of those books and save them to a flash drive or whatever. So I do back my books up that way. In fact, if you want to get really technical, you can go get a library card, get digital books and get the PDFs too. Not that I've done that, but allegedly you can do that.
I'll tell you what I did used to do with my library card. My love for audiobooks started with the library. And they had an audiobook feature. I'm going back.
They still have it.
2000, 2005-ish. Okay, so I'll have to go look it up.
Like with Audible, I've been on Audible so long, bro. Let me see how many Audible books I got. I'm looking now.
Are we going to do a competition right here on the spot?
I don't know. You think you might got me beat?
No, I ain't about beat.
What you got?
Honestly, I just want to pick your brain, see what you got.
So I've been on Audible over a decade. I've been in Audible since 2011.
Okay.
346 titles and 16 badges.
Okay, give me a minute. I'll pull mine up. I wanted to pull this up for a second now.
Now, Kindle, I probably got double that. And I still do have some physical books because some things aren't even available on those. Oh, it's at the very top of the page is what I was talking about.
Black wealth is black power.
That's in the middle, but I said it's the first thing you see. After our logo is the first thing you see at the very top.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was talking about right there.
Got you.
So I don't shy away from the whole idea of black. You know what I mean? Like that's what
I don't think we should either. I mean, but I get it, and I don't judge anybody who doesn't. Like, for example, a lot of black-owned businesses, a lot of times they don't want people to know that they're black-owned. And on all my socials and everything else, you can see it's me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I do that strategically, though. because I'm not going to change me being black. I'm not going to put on any whitening cream or change my voice. I've been told
Listen,
I've been
man, one of the greatest things about life is being yourself. When you actually are able to be your authentic self,
right.
Whatever that may be, whether you're a nerd, whatever you may be, that's a beautiful thing. Navigating through the world is a lot easier.
But I also tell them that, right? The reason why I do that is I want people to know, and if they are white and they don't want to rock with me, because I do have white clients, they know, and they can self-select right on out of there.
Yeah,
but I don't feel the need to change or do anything else like that.
Yeah. So K Diggy, what I was going to say is, no, I wasn't saying that you use the PDFs on Kindle. I was saying to back those books up PDF. So when I get a PDF book, if I want to read a PDF book, I actually go to Play Books, the Google product Play Books, and upload the PDFs there to read. That's how I do all my magazines and everything else. So
Yo, K Diggy, where are you at, man? You got multiple residents. You got zip codes and multiple area codes.
Oh, that's the county. For a second, I thought it said countries. I was about to say, what kind of
no.
James Bond is he on? But yeah, different counties. Okay, so
I mean, because your lottery card never really gets revoked, so you could live in one county, move to another, go to another, get a new card, and you're Gucci.
I mean, they tried to come after me I had like Animal Farm out for about a good 10, 15 years. And I found it. I didn't know I had it out that long, so I found it and took it back. But they cut me some slack, gave me the new card.
Okay. And Lawrence, thanks for sharing this out with our Cookout family. Thank you, sir. All right, so we're pulling up. We're pulling up, and we're going to get ready to get out of here. So
yeah, no doubt.
But all right, we're pulling up our Audible records, right? So what we got now? What are you reading right now, anyway, Jimmy?
Right now on Audible, I'll tell you what I'm currently reading. Multiple things. All right, so I'm reading a Stoic book right now called The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. That's one. Free Capital is another one by Guy Thomas.
I don't think I know that one. Send me that.
All right.
Share that with me.
That's another one. And where's the other one? Disintegration.
Eugene Robertson.
Yeah,
Erica, I have that. I haven't read it yet.
Erica told me to read that. She told me 10 times. So I said, all right. So that's what's on my Audible. On my Kindle, I'm reading a book about your people, Arcana People. That's one of the books I'm reading.
Did we read that already? That's from the sister, right?
Years ago, a long time ago. It's not a newer book.
From the Castle lady, right?
It's not a newer book. I'm gonna tell you.
Oh no! That Arcana People was the one about the bougie people.
Yeah, Lawrence Otis Graham. That's one of them.
I haven't read that yet. That's good.
It's very interesting. It's a nice study. So I'll give you three that I'm reading over here. I'm reading Jared Ball's new book, The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power.
Shout out to Dr.
Jared Ball. Let me put some respect on his name.
Shout out
and
to
I'm reading
Black.
Another one called Founding Finance.
And Dr. Jared Ball can be found at Black Media Power or Black Power Media on YouTube.
So let me give you the title of this book right here. I'm gonna go back to the cover. It's an interesting book too. It's a historical book. It's called Founding Finance: How Debt, Speculation, Foreclosures, Protests, and Crackdowns made us a nation by William Hoagland. So that's the other one right here. Come on, that's what that looks like. If you can see it, it's called Founding Finance.
Okay.
History. So those are the three I got on Kindle. Those are the three I got on Audible, and that's kind of what I'm into. And then I'm reading the physical book is Yorugu. So that's the
okay. All right.
So I gotta have one physical, couple Kindle, couple.
No. But this is good, right? Because I got this. I've only read 2 pages of it. I'm already in love with it. I just haven't gotten back to it yet. So now I know you're reading it. I'm going to speed up on it.
But I don't even know you speed up because the thing is, I find.
Well, not speed up. I mean, I'm gonna start putting effort into
reading it. Like I've been on the first couple chapters for literally over a month because I keep going back and rereading it and processing the information that's being given.
Oh yeah,
that book is one of those. Let's put it that way. There's a couple of books that I refer back to often, and I always have to reread and and pick up information from it. Like Creature from Jekyll Island is one of them.
I never read that. I never read it.
Listen, man, it's a big book, but it's a lot of.
I guess I try to stay clear of all things near or far to conspiracy theory.
But it's not conspiracy though. That's the thing about that book. Conspiracy
But
theory.
they're in that realm though. All the conspiracy.
But it's really not that book. If you read the book's not. So the book is given historical facts. People make a conspiracy of it, but the book doesn't talk about what happens in the room. Conspiracy theorists love that book because they can point to those facts and extrapolate things to try to create their conspiracy.
They not extrapolate nothing. None of the things that they extrapolate are usable today and are really relevant today.
Well, I mean,
you can say the Fed is this and it's the banks and it's owned by the Rothschilds, but what exactly?
That's not what that book's about, though. That's the thing.
But that's what they always say. That's what they say.
My point is this, though.
And they say that. We get into these.
No, and enter my Cyrus Beam quote right here. It's a matter of perspective, brother. You feel like it adds no value, but I feel like that it could add a little value because a lot of times, believe it or not, even in 2023, people tend to trust big institutions, big government, and they don't question things. And a lot of times they don't question things. So a book like that will teach you to question things. Although that book is just historical facts, it's not really conspiracy, but other people create conspiracies from that book. Like, so what'll happen is if a book says that Johnny and Ed met at this place, right? And that's all they say. What the conspiracy theorists will do is create a whole conversation that Johnny and Ed had. The book doesn't tell you that.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the difference.
It's like Uncle Tom was not the enemy in the book, but that's all.
I mean, you know, hey, listen, man.
It was Sambo. But all right. Question for everybody watching: should me and Jimmy do a book review on The Creature from Jekyll's Island? Put it in the chat. And let me know what you think.
Man, we got so many books we can review, brother.
Oh, I know, but I mean that's the one point of contention, right? And I'm always down to learn. But you are beating me, right? So I've been a member of Audible since 2013.
Okay.
Year 2011.
Yeah.
Right. Titles. 304 titles, 17 badges. I think you said like 399 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm 346 is my total.
346.
16 badges. Yeah. So
okay. So I got you on badges. You got me on books.
Yeah, 346, 16 badges, man. You know,
I believe you. You ain't got to show the proof.
I mean, listen, man. You know, I you know, what I mean, I live my raps.
I mean, you can't talk about it. You can't live it.
I live my raps, man. Just like you know.
All right. So K Diggy said yes. All right. So I'm gonna get the creature from Jekyll Island. All right. Now y'all just saw I'm pliable. I'm flexible. I said it has no value. Jimmy said da 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 da. Y'all said, stop being egotistical and go read it. All right. Enough said.
Yeah.
Enough said.
So you asked me a good book on stoicism. You know, shout out to Seneca and shout out to Epictetus. But I think the GOAT book is probably Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. But I like a lot of the other, like the one I'm reading now is pretty good too. It kind of goes into a lot of them. This The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. I'm a fan of Ryan Holiday's work.
I'm a fan of Ryan Holiday too.
I was telling Corey, I said Ryan Holiday is one of my favorite writers, and I hate to say that for political reasons, but it's just the truth. But it's just the truth.
But for political reasons, that's why I haven't gone deeper into the Stoics. I've been trying to find.
Yeah, but one of my favorite books from him is "Ego is the Enemy."
That's a good book too.
Yeah, that's an excellent book. Excellent book. So
ego is the enemy.
Yeah. But what I like about it is, so it's not just the saying ego is the enemy, but it's like using historical, like giving it historical context.
Yeah.
About how it gets in the way of a lot of folks. Man, and even yourself, right? That's the thing. It's about self-improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Jimmy, you want to know the countdown time right now?
We already about 2.5 hours, bro.
2 hours.
I know what it is.
3 minutes,
man. This is what we do.
5 seconds. 2 hours, 3 minutes, 5 seconds.
I know what it is. This is what we do. Shout out to Black Conti too, man. Because I don't know if you mind, but I might send him this for myself too. But
no, well, we can always share our stuff.
Yeah, because
I just asked that I get to share it up there first.
Go ahead, yeah. Let me know once you do, so then I'll follow you. I'll follow you, good brother.
Yeah, but you know what?
We'll save him some work too. But we about to create a whole new content, man. We about to do some Black Wealth TV reviews, man. We about to, that's about to be our new thing, man. We're gonna watch.
You talking about you and us?
You and me, man. Yeah.
No, because I didn't say Black Wealth TV reviews. I don't want it to be.
Oh, you want to go full? You want to go full? What?
I just want to have fun. I just want to I watch Power. I watch.
You watching the Tommy episodes?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Force, but I watch it because of Tommy. But
isn't it funny how us as a culture we just decided to call the show Tommy? I forgot that it was called Force until you just said that.
Yeah.
Because our folks just be like, yo, you see Tommy, like it's but I already know how you feel about it. I can tell by your face you don't like that show.
So you can't help watch Power and not like Tommy, right? The character, right?
Yes.
And I can't think of his name off the top. He's a good actor. But I don't feel the writing is as up to par as some of the other forced.
Man, they left for the writing. The writing, they gave up on writing a while ago.
Courtney Kemp isn't there any longer.
Yeah, at this point, I watch it. It's almost comedy to me. Watching Tariq and him is I'm not even watching it for dramatic purposes.
Well, that show's okay. To me, the one that's best written is Kanan.
Yeah, but see, I wonder, is it best written
or is it nostalgia?
Nostalgia, exact. That's what it is. I don't know if the writing is good or it's just nostalgia.
I think the writing's better than all the other shows, and I will admit, I grew up in the 80s. Mm-hmm. I'm living through all of that. So yes, I think my people lived in the Bronx. They would take me down to Harlem. I would see a lot of that stuff going on.
So we can do that, man. We can get them to some TV shows, like however you want to break it down. It's funny because all my conversations go back to Black Wealth anyway. So it's inevitably going to happen.
They can be authentic conversations, right? But I just wanted to be about the show.
Yeah, it is.
Because we can also talk about Billions. Like I want to review Billions. This is the last season of Billions.
Absolutely.
Right. So I talked about it a little bit, but
I watched Succession. I'll finish that. You know what I mean?
I watched Succession. That show is a great illustration of why entitled people, somebody used the word entitled, melanin redacted people are dangerous. Yo, by the way, down to earth, yes, I do have melanin redacted clients. But melanin redacted.
By the way, I don't know if you noticed, Kamari, but that's Adrian. Adrian that used to be on the Black Wealth Project. That's our YouTube channel.
Oh, word? Okay. Yeah. Okay, you want to get a sub from me then?
Absolutely. That's family. But yeah, man. So we could get on that too, man. We got a couple of things that came out of the night, man. Like we got the book club, and now we got to review some TV shows, man.
And some books.
We knew this was going to happen, man. I told you it was going. I said there's no way to go anything less than 2 hours.
We can.
No, we can't. It's not possible, bro.
We can. I believe.
It's not possible. Listen, if you call me just to ask me for a piece of paper, it's going to end up in a half-hour conversation. Like that's just what happens.
What weight do you want? Do you want 12 weight, 15 weight, 25 weight? What weight? Yeah, I mean, you're right. And how do you use that? Do you use the felt pen? Do you use it? Yeah, I got you. So, Adrian, do you miss the Black Wealth Project?
Hey, listen, man, they're making too much money for us, Adrian. Everybody, Kamari is hanging out in Martha's Vineyard.
And you're going to Utah hanging out with billionaires. What we talking about? What we talking about?
He ain't got time for us.
Stop it. Stop it. Man. All right, so we got Creature from Jekyll's Island. Let me write that down.
That's the list.
I'll grab that on Audible.
We gotta go over some classics too when we do our book review. Matter of fact, we gotta get some feedback from y'all. Like, what's some of the books that we should be looking at?
Oh yeah,
Education of the Negro is a definite.
Yes.
You want to do ISIS Papers?
I haven't. Oh yes, I haven't touched that book in over 40 years, probably 30 years.
ISIS Papers. How about good old Powernomics? We talked about that before. We talked about
it on the Black Wealth Project,
and we talked about Cass.
Did
you know she did another part of Cass? It's like a second part.
I did not.
Yeah, someone told me. I
was kind of depressed reading Cass, man.
I think Cass is another.
That was a hard read for me.
So there's a couple books that will forever stick with me, and that's one of them. I know I talked about books that have that are always constant reads. That's a book that sticks with me, but I don't know how many times I can go back and read it. Although I do refer to it often. That one, The Color of Law. And it's another one that people sleep on. It's called Family Properties. A lot of people haven't read that one. When I ask, a lot of people are familiar with The Color of Law, but Family Properties by Beryl Satter is one that sits with me as well. But
Isn't he a lawyer? Beryl Satter.
I don't know. I don't believe so. But that book called Family Properties is maybe you're right. Maybe you are right. And Beryl Satter though is and by the way is a woman. Oh no, she's actually a professor at Rutgers. She's not in a Guggenheim fellowship. She's not an attorney though. But yeah, but that book, Family Properties, was powerful. So that's one of them. But there's a couple books like that, man. But Cass is a hard read, but I think it's a necessary read because one of those books, everything makes sense when you read it. So we got to come up with.
Did you ever read? Have you read? Well, yeah. Do me a favor, y'all. In the comment section, what books do y'all think we should review? And maybe we'll make this a fun channel. We'll do book and
movie. There you go. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, book, movie, and TV reviews.
Listen, we already got the platform. We already got the Black Wolf Project channel set up. We could just use that channel and just start doing.
But I want to. I don't know if I want to do it on Black Wolf Project.
Okay.
Only because like Billions isn't necessarily. I mean, we could do it. Maybe. What do y'all think?
So,
I'm open. Yeah.
That's what she said. But listen, there's also what book were you getting ready to ask me about? You getting ready to ask me about a book?
Pearl Satter.
Yeah, family properties. That's the one. That's the one.
How the struggle over race, real estate transformed Chicago and urban America. That sounds very interesting.
It is. That book, man, that's one of them ones. That's one of them ones.
Oh, I didn't know he had a book. Now this is a book I want to read.
What's this?
Put it up on the screen.
On Your Time and Space?
No, we gonna plug that. Listen, I need to become an author like you one day too, man. You're my hero. So let me put this up here. So going back to, and I got the book, Black Fortunes. My favorite person in that book was a gentleman by the name of Robert Smalls.
Oh man, Robert Smalls is a straight legend.
Yeah, he brought bailed Memphis out, and then was a major financier of the whole movement to Oklahoma. Like a lot of people don't realize that Black folks didn't always live in Oklahoma. We kind of migrated to Oklahoma and Tulsa and all of that. But this book is called The Wheelman.
Mm-hmm.
How the slave Robert Smalls stole a warship and became king.
I never saw that book before.
Me either. By Marshall Evans.
Yo, he even he looked like that dude even on the cover, like.
Yeah, like fuck around and find out.
Yeah. I gotta look that up myself. I never even heard of that book.
Yeah, this came out in 2015, so maybe we missed it with the pandemic and everything. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can review, man, from the books to the movies. Like, I still haven't watched Emancipation yet.
I haven't either, bro. And yeah. I got Apple TV. I just haven't watched it.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to watch like slave narratives right now. Eventually, I want to watch it because I heard it's an excellent movie, but I just wasn't emotionally ready to watch it, to be honest with you.
No, I get it. Sometimes it bees like that.
Yeah, so we definitely gotta add the Wheelman to the list, man.
All right, so you know I'm gonna create a Google Doc and I'm gonna share it.
There you go.
With everybody.
One last question though: what was the book about the brother who was the first black millionaire on Wall Street? It was the
Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, you read that?
So I started it. It's about the Haitian brother. It moved too slow for me. And I never got back to it. I think
I read the book, but the funny thing is, I thought that it was going to be something that it wasn't when I finished it, because I thought that I was, it was sort of like a hero. He was a terrible human being.
Yeah, the way they depicted him, he wasn't.
He was a terrible human being, yo.
Sleeping with people's wives and all kinds.
Yeah, he was wilding out there. He was a terrible human being. He had a skill set, but he wasn't a good person. But we can add that to the list.
Allegedly.
This is true. This is true.
Because sometimes. The one thing I be worried about sometimes with some of these books is, like you said, Cyrus Bean, whose perspective are they coming from? Mm-hmm. And is it for us or is it for them?
Hey man, listen.
Or is it the truth? Because there can be truth. You can be both, right? I mean, you can be good for the people and a piece of shit at the same time.
My favorite song from Hamilton is "If You Die, Who Tells Your Story?" And that's so key to that actual play, if you want to call it a play, because the reason that Hamilton is being told this way is because someone, his wife, made sure his name lived and told his story. And a lot of other folks around that time didn't have anyone to tell their story.
Facts.
And shout out to the other Roots too, because the Roots did the version on the album and it's fire. It's the Roots in Common.
For what?
If you die, who tells your story? Black
I'll
Thought.
have to go.
Black Thought goes insane on there. I mean, he goes insane on everything. He goes insane on everything, but he went. Yeah, Tariq went crazy. But that's my favorite song about Hamilton. But anyway.
All right. Well, listen, y'all. We appreciate y'all rocking with us for 2 hours and 15 minutes, damn near. We talked about Airbnbs. We talked about Puffy giving back to publishing. We talked about South Carolina, Hilton Head, property being stolen from Black people. We talked about a lot of things tonight. And we talked about a lot of books. So make sure, do me a favor, y'all. Leave me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. If y'all want to do me something for me, please go over there and do that. Trying to get the podcast to grow and help more people. But again, thank you all, and we'll be back. This is the Finance Rebel Show. Kamari Ellis. Tonight we had our brother Jimmy from By the Hood. Also, going over to By the Hood's podcast as well.
Hey, 5 stars
on Apple Podcasts, and give them 5 stars as well. Their podcast is awesome. Their best episodes are with this guy by the name of Kamari Ellis.
There's a number of those episodes too, so check them out.
Because there's a lot of great people over there. Just jokes, show. But again, thank you all, and we'll see you next time. Have a great night.
Peace, y'all.